Mute yourself by dialing *6. If you're on a smartphone connected through the internet or otherwise use Teams or through the internet, please look for the little microphone and mute yourself at this time. Please remain muted throughout the meeting until such time as you are recognized for the particular portion, for public portion or otherwise.
I do, Mr. Conlon.
Good evening, sir.
Mr. Conlon, are you ready to begin?
I am. We do have a quorum.
Alrighty. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting is being called to order. Adequate notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act pursuant to Public Laws 1975, Chapter 231. This agenda is complete to the extent known and was sent to the Trenton Times and the Trentonian newspapers, posted on the first floor bulletin board in the City Hall, filed in the City Clerk's office, and posted on the City of Trenton's website. Formal action will be taken. Roll call, Mr. Conlon.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Blakely. Ms. Paul. Council Vice Chair.
Present.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'm just going to go through and mute a couple people. My apologies there. Mr. Harrison, have you joined us yet, sir? Mr. Michelle.
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez?
Present.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Vaughn? Council President McBride?
Present.
Mr. Cruz? Mr. Cherry?
Good evening, everyone. I am present.
Mr. Liston? Have you joined us tonight? Mr. Bridges?
Present.
And I also know Ms. Samuel is here as well. Director Coley?
Present.
Director Mazio?
Present. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Director Coley. Director Delano?
Present.
Director Lopez?
Good evening. I'm present.
Thank you. Director Antieri? I know you're here because I heard you earlier. There you are. Director Richardson?
Good evening. I am present.
Thank you, ma'am. Director Lavenberg?
Good evening. Present.
Good evening, sir. Director Zielinski?
Present.
Thank you, sir. Council President, we do have a quorum. The directors are here, as noted.
Mr. Conlon, could
Yes, ma'am.
I please have Mr. Bridges? I didn't hear Mr. Cruz on the line, but could I please have Mr. Bridges introduce Mr. Liston and at least tell the public what role he's playing in the city of Trenton this evening?
Yeah, and I didn't hear Mr. Liston being here, but certainly Mr. Bridges.
Madam President, good evening. This is Adam Cruz. My apologies. I'm having technical difficulties with my Surface Pro, and I had to dial in on my cell phone. But I just heard your request, and yes, Madam President, Mr. Archleton is will be starting work in the city of Trenton starting on Monday. He will be the mayor's new chief of staff.
All righty. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Cruz. Appreciate it. And Mr. Conlon, we have an executive session scheduled this evening, and I would like to move into the executive session first based on the attorneys all being present and being on the clock. And then we will come back to do the city's business. If you would read the executive session to the record.
Yes, ma'am. And just to note for the record, for the recording, I actually just got the recording to start. The attendance is Ms. Colwell-Wilson, Mr. Michelle, Mr. Rodriguez, Council President McBride, and this is the conference session of April 27, 2021. The open public meeting statement was read into the record by Council President McBride. This evening, we also have an executive session for Resolution 21-156. This is for attorney-client privilege. This is 21-156. Authorizing the City Council of the City of Trenton to hold an executive session which excludes the public. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Trenton, this body will convene an executive session in City Council Conference Room, City Hall, that will be limited to consideration of an item or items with respect to which the public may be excluded pursuant to Section 7B of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12. General nature of the subject is subject to privilege. Ordinance 20-60, the ruling of Judge Jacobson on the Legislative Council, stated as precisely as possible. Following is the time when the circumstances in which the discussion conducted in said meeting can be disclosed to the public on April 29, 2022, or when the need for confidentiality no longer exists, whichever is later. The public is excluded from said meeting and further notice is dispensed with, all in accordance with Sections 8 and 4A of the Open Public Meetings Act. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Colwell-Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Council President McBride. I'll now call the roll. Mr. Blakely, have you arrived, sir?
Can you repeat the resolution?
Yes, this is Resolution 21-156, a resolution to enter an executive session for an attorney-client privilege for the discussion of the ruling of Judge Jacobson on Ordinance 20-60 Legislative Council.
Mr.
Yes.
Collins, is there a reason that you have your emails on the screen?
No, ma'am. My apologies. Thank you.
Thank
Mr. Blakely, your vote, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Colwell-Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison, have you arrived, sir? Mr. Harrison is absent. Mr. Michelle?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn, have you arrived, ma'am?
Yes, I arrived, and I'm sorry I didn't get the, what are we voting on?
This is Resolution 21-156, authorizing the City Council of the City of Trenton to hold an executive session which excludes the public for attorney-client privilege for Ordinance 20-60, the ruling of Judge Jacobson on Legislative Council.
Yes.
Council President McBride.
Yes.
The ayes have it. The council is adjourned to executive session. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be returning from executive session and probably guesstimate is within a half hour or 45 minutes. The meeting will resume at that time. Please stay here or come back. We certainly would like you to participate. We're going to be going over the docket. At this time, we're going to adjourn to executive session. If any council has an issue with executive session and getting in, please contact the clerk's office and let me know. Until that part, we are going to adjourn to an executive session at this time at 5:37 p.m. Thank you.
Mr. Conlon,
Yes, ma'am.
while we're waiting to restart this meeting. I just would like to ask a couple of questions about the petitions before the mayor, because the mayor is going to join us for the advice and consent this evening.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I just want to ask a few questions before the, and maybe Mr. Cruz and Mr. Cherry could get back with us. On the petitions on page 4, number 2, AAA, there's civil action being filed and the U.S. District Court, the District of New Jersey representing John Moses versus Reed Gaciora, subpoenaed to testify at a deposition in a civil action, various police officers in the city of Trenton. If someone could explain what that is when we go back in, when we get ready to do the sessions, and if someone can explain to AAL, civil action filed by John Devlin and Devlin. It's representing Gail M. Richardson and William Richardson versus Elena I. Perez, City of Trenton, and the Trenton Police Department, if they could explain that to me. And there was one more that was on there, but I guess I missed my placing. But the other one was the Princeton Pike. There's a motion to enter a lawsuit for something that occurred at 3131 Princeton Pike. I believe the it's 2AAJ. It's a civil case summons filed by I don't know how you pronounce this, Aaron, A-R-U-N, Levine. So if those three could be explained. The one was 2AAJ.
And what was the first one, the number in the first one again? I know Mr. Moses is...
The one, and the one in the first one was 2AAA, and the second one was 2AAL. That was
Madam President?
Yes.
On that same subject, 2F, blah. I'd like to know, because I believe that we had a contract that was pulled out recently on that same attorneys, blah, 2F.
2F is in Frank?
Yes.
When we go over the petitions, when we go over the docket and we get to that portion, I'll bring it up to Mr. Bridges. I just want to caution up front, because they are all three involving litigation matters, that Mr. Bridges may want to do that in executive session, or may request to do so in executive session.
That was going to be my next statement. Thank you for that, Mr. Clerk.
Which can be scheduled, we can actually schedule it for Thursday if you want.
Yes, yes. Well, would you move forward to advertise that? Because we do need to discuss these particular lawsuits and what they're about, because right now there is no information for us here, so we need to know.
Yes, ma'am. I'll add an executive session to discuss those three items.
Quickly, it's a housekeeping item, Council President.
Go right ahead, Councilor.
I just got a couple of text messages from some of our constituents that are on the line, stating that some of them joined late, and if there's any way Mr. Collin or the our CIO, Mr. Joseph Rivera, can put a message on the screen that says that council is in executive session for latecomers who don't realize that is the case.
They want, you want them to put it on that we're back in session and.
No, when we depart,
I understand what she's saying. It'll probably have to be done through IT because that would actually have to be uploaded through Microsoft Teams or Zoom if we make the move to Zoom. But I'll facilitate that. That's a very good idea, man.
So,
If you can-
for Thursday, you want that to show on the screen? Like if we're going to executive session on Thursday, you would like a screen showing that we're in session, in executive
Correct.
session.
We can facilitate that. That's a very good idea. Thank you for the pickup.
Yeah. Well,
Thank
it came from our constituents. I'm just the messenger.
Right, just tell them we said thanks. And Mr. Collins,
They
if
heard
you
you,
can move
Council
forward.
President. They're on the line.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Councilwoman Vaughn. Mr. Collins, if you can move forward with the mayor and his.
We'd like to, with just one administrative thing, we'd like to call the roll to bring us back into session, man. I'll now call Mr. Blakely.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Present.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Harrison.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Michelle. Thank you, sir. Mr. Rodriguez.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Vaughn.
Present.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Council President.
Present.
Thank you, ma'am. Clerk is here. Mr. Cruz.
Present. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Mr. Cherry.
Present.
Mr. Liston, I sent you the link. Were you able to join us?
Yeah, I'm present.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bridges.
Present.
And Ms. Samuel is also here. Director Coley.
Present.
Thank you, ma'am. Director Mazio.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Director Delisle.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Acting Director Lopez.
Present.
Thank you, ma'am. Director Onatieri.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Director Richardson. Director Richardson. Okay. Director Lavenberg.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Acting Director Zielinski.
Present.
Thank you, Council President. Would you like to proceed with the mayoral presentation?
Yes, please.
Your Honor, are you present, sir?
I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Council President and members of Council. Trenton, as you know, faces many public health challenges. Even after COVID-19, we still have a host of other issues that the city has long struggled with, including youth homelessness, trauma, substance abuse. The city health department even oversees our city's animal shelter. And I can tell you, based on what we long know about her and what we've seen firsthand as our interim acting health director, that Dr. Adela Lopez is one of the best persons for the job during this time, especially in this pandemic. Dr. Lopez has 25 years of experience in public administration, state government, and the non-public sector. Previously, she was Assistant Area Director with the Division of Children and Family Services, Division of Child Protection, serving Hunterdon, Mercer, Somerset, and Warren counties. She also was an adjunct professor at Fairleigh Dickinson University's Public Administration program and has been involved in various social service and mentoring programs with the Trenton Public School System, Big Brothers and Sisters program, and the Trenton Police Department. Dr. Lopez was an active member of the New Jersey Child Fatality Near Fatality Board, and she is also a member of the Mercer County Commission on Abused, Neglected, and Missing Children. She has extensive experience in providing services for vulnerable populations, including people with disabilities, juvenile offenders, individuals struggling with addiction, mental health, and domestic violence and sex abuse victims. And it's that experience that has given us the upper hand in this COVID-19 battle. Total percentage of city residents vaccinated so far is 30% and increasing every day, with the vast majority of those vaccinations performed under the direct supervision of Dr. Lopez and her team. Our vaccination goal is to reach 70% of the adult population, and I'm confident with Dr. Lopez at the helm, we'll get there, especially as we ramp up walk-in clinics and house calls for homebound residents. We've received praise from the governor's office, FEMA, the State Department of Health, and Mercer County for our efforts to reach Black and Latino residents. Our partners know that more vaccines they give us, the more that they make their way into communities of color in our city. And that's all thanks to the trust built by Dr. Lopez, our wonderful health officer, Yvette Graffey-Cooper, and all of our health personnel who are in this moment taking full advantage of thousands of additional vaccines we've received beyond our regular allotment. You've seen Dr. Lopez and her team at schools in all 4 wards, at churches, at parks across the city administering COVID tests and vaccines. This week, they will operate a walk-up site at Unity Square Park, at the Pentecostal Assembly of God Church, and at the Firehouse. Dr. Lopez has even initiated our own homebound program to take care of the most vulnerable residents in our city. And it's her work on COVID-19 that will put her in the great position to address numerous other serious issues facing the city. For instance, she'll use tomorrow's clinic to offer pamphlets on services that help child abuse prevention. Also based on the medical challenges identified during the vaccination clinics, she has discovered some residents do not have primary doctor or insurance, so she is working with our local healthcare community and Dr. Napoleon Bonaparte to set up a free health clinic for city residents to get a complete physical and connect with a primary care doctor. She's also focused on treating mental health in our city, attending to many reported cases of depression and anxiety due to this pandemic, including working with the Smith Foundation to address trauma in our city. And once this pandemic is finally done, we'll still have the opioid crisis to contend with. All the churches, school groups, civic associations, and healthcare professionals that she is working with now on COVID-19 will be instrumental in helping us combat the addiction that claims too many residents in Trenton and elsewhere throughout the country. She's also anxious to begin work on replacement of our city's animal shelter, and we'll hear about that more as the months proceed. Her holistic approach to public health that encompasses the physical, emotional, social, and spiritual needs of the community is exactly what we need right now, and I hope that you will give her your full consideration. I'll now turn over the floor, by your permission, Council President, if you have any questions of Dr. Lopez.
Council President? Council President?
Oh, okay, I apologize. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much, and welcome, Dr. Lopez.
Council President, I have a question for Dr. Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President.
Go right ahead,
Council President, may I go ahead?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman.
Oh, Dr. Lopez, welcome aboard. I just want to thank you for all the work that you put in to date, and I look forward to collaborating with you regarding the homeless situation and the panhandlers, but even more so, please, I will collaborate with you on the animal shelter. So welcome aboard. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Morris Cardwell Wilson, and I truly would love to collaborate with you in regarding the animal shelter and, more importantly, the homeless population and panhandling. So thank you for that.
Councilman Blakely.
Yes, I just want to say, Dr. Lopez, you are doing a fantastic job. You are making your community and your family proud, and I'm really looking forward to voting for your nomination as director. Keep up the good work. You're a homegrown person. You bring a lot to the table, and we're very lucky to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Blakely. I really appreciate that.
Councilman Harrison.
Ms. Lopez, I just want to say Been impressed by your work out in the wards, the parks, all over the city. Like you said, the animal shelter, the panhandling. Like I said, you'll get my vote. Welcome aboard. Like you said, homegrown. You're getting the job done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman Harrison. Thank you.
Mhm. Councilman Michelle. We can't hear you, Councilman Michelle.
Sure. We're still having difficulty hearing you, Councilman.
We'll move on to Councilman Rodriguez.
Welcome home, Dr. Lopez. I'll be voting for you.
Oh, thank you, Councilman Rodriguez. I truly appreciate it, and I look forward to working with you as well.
Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yes. Hi, Mrs. Lopez, Dr. Lopez.
Hi.
Welcome aboard. I know it has been a very difficult and expedient transition, taking on, the role that you have taken on with grace and with great confidence. You have given us, the city, great confidence going forward that you are the right selection made by the mayor for the job. But I just want to ask a couple questions that are important. You're definitely impressive. And you being an African-American woman, presiding over healthcare in a city, as the mayor described, of Black and brown people who are underserved in that space nationwide. So you have an opportunity to make a mark and put your own footprint in the city of Trenton as we progress forward and grow in other spaces where our community has been underserved. But healthcare is primary. So one thing I will say is that one of the other things that's primary is being a resident of the city. So are you a resident?
No, I don't reside in the city now, but I have been
Okay.
for a long time. I'm from Trenton, North Trenton, Dolly Homes, the Boulevard, and then Wilbur Section. Graduated from Trenton Central High School. 2 of my 4 children graduated from Trenton High, and one of my children are a detective with Trenton Police Department. So, and my parents live on Garfield Avenue. So I am a Trentonian, and I understand your concern about that. But my presence will never change regarding being here and being for the city.
Okay. So one of the things that, and that's phenomenal, because we all, move in and out of Trenton. I have done the same. But currently, I'm a taxpayer of the city, and I am a resident. So, hopefully, as you progress in this role, maybe you find it, good reason to move back into the city and get on our tax roll and help us in that capacity economically as well. So the other thing, could I ask what county or municipality you reside in?
I'm in Burlington County.
Burlington County. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So so that's where all our revenue going, Burlington County. So the other thing that I would ask is so about the rollout of the pandemic. So we have a lot of homebound African Americans who are transportation challenged. So can you just expound on how are you reaching these individuals, even though, they're homebound and they need health care services outside the pandemic, right? So it's not just for the pandemic. We should have a plan in place to support those citizens ongoing, right? So are you currently have a plan for the homebound, sick and shut-in, incapacitated residents of the city of Trenton?
Yes, so
outside the pandemic.
Yes, outside of the pandemic. That's the goal in implementing the Homebound Initiative. We started that on April the 12th. And so far, as of that date, we have vaccinated 204 homebound residents. And while doing that, that's one of my passions, is being able to go to them, see how they're living, see what resources and services are needed. And that's how we learn of the many medical health challenges that they are facing. So we use that and come up with a plan, a strategic plan on what is needed. So one of the things that Dr. Bonaparte and I are doing and reaching out to other doctors to be a part of this free health clinic is to, by June, is to hold a free health clinic to have physicals, even if we have to go to them, and just do full body checkups. And if they do not have a primary doctor, then we'll connect them to a doctor, and then go through the process if they do not have insurance as well. So that's one of the things that do fall underneath my department. And so that is a plan. And that was one of the plans while we implemented the Homebound initiative, to do that ongoing outside of the pandemic, because we know that's a need.
So the other question that I want to ask is a managerial one that's related to the budget. Since you are a director and you're serving in an executive capacity, and one of your other responsibilities outside of your craft or your professional expertise is to be able to manage the department efficiently and effectively. So I come down to resources. You know, the budget is a critical process in our city. Municipalities cannot run without a balanced budget. So your department has been one of the underserved departments in the city.
Yes.
And you can't provide the level of services that this city has. I mean, as it relates to healthcare, right? We have homeless folks. We have underinsured, no insurance, unemployed. When you are unemployed, you don't have health coverage, right?
Absolutely.
So these ills, the other municipalities don't have. There's no strain on their budget as relates to your counterparts in Hamilton Township, Union Township, and the wealthy suburbs. They don't have your challenges, Ms. Lopez, Dr. Lopez. So I would like to see and hope that you have a strong voice in being able to stand strong with Mayor Gussie Rohrer and make sure that he hears you and providing you with your request for adequate resources, meaning funding and human resources, right? Mm-hmm. So can you tell us what shortfalls you have in your department and what the council, what I could do for you to help you pressure Mayor Gussie Rohrer to properly fund and resource the Health and Human Services Department? Can you tell me? I mean, there's some waste there. There was some reports of abuse of overtime reporting in certain capacity, not just for the pandemic, but before the pandemic, people were abusing the overtime in your department. I mean, astronomically, all right? So I just want to know that what are your expectations and how can I help you, Health and Human Services, by making sure that we get you the resources from the city council, from the budget, and help you pressure the mayor to get those resources. So where are your deficiencies?
Well, I can tell you, you don't have to pressure the mayor. The mayor has actually been coming to me and saying, what do I need for my department? Because he knows we are understaffed. I only have 51 staff in my department. And so we know that we are understaffed. And we do make it work. Based on the budget and based on DCA and the approval process and the waiver. So we do understand that. I have had many conversations with Tina, our state monitor as well. So all of that is aware. I do have a strong voice coming from the state and having a staff of 500 and having a budget of 15 million. I definitely have no issue with ringing the bell and sounding the alarm on what is needed for my department. So I know there are some deficiencies and staffing is it. But the mayor already knows that. We have meetings every week and he knows what the deficiencies are. But looking at the budget and realistically and what we can have in our department and what can work without raising taxes and not putting the pressure on to the taxpayers, the residents. And so we do look at resources and services that are cost effective, maybe that are not charging us at all all. We do have volunteers. We have social workers who are going for the LCSW, LSW, who need their hours, their internship hours. So we look at those avenues as well. We have nurses who are in nursing school who need those hours as well. And so we utilize them. So you can look at cost-effective strategies to be able to help my department and still save money. So those are the conversations the mayor and I have been having and been discussing, as well as with our BA and the DCA state monitor. And for as you and city council, there's always continuously being that voice of reason and always advocating for us to have staff and the funding that is needed. And that's beyond the mayor, and that's county and state and federal level. That would always be beneficial for us.
Well, you got my support, and you have my voice and my advocacy, and pressuring the mayor to make sure he does the right thing, okay? And get you some funding and advocate funding for all our departments across the city. And the last question that I have for you is about your collaboration with other government agencies and other municipalities and other levels of government, from the county to the state and to the federal. How are you leveraging those relationships and to help Trenton?
Oh, yes. I still maintain all those relationships. I know when you're talking about having a state monitor, because my department, when I was working for the state Department of Children and Families, we had a federal monitor, still do. And so having that relationship and knowing those different levels and what is required, I learned so much. And so I maintain those relationships. I still have relationships in the governor's office, the commissioners, that's part of Department of Health and Department of Children and Families. So I reach out if there's anything that is needed, even on a county level. I do advocate for that. So it's never an issue. I always advocate for Trenton. And even prior to coming here, I indirectly have been advocating for Trenton. My 20 years with Department of Children and Families, I have serviced the city of Trenton. A lot of my, when I was on the Child Fatality Board, going to autopsies for 3 years involved children and youth from city of Trenton. I went to various states and other countries for children who was running away or was part of human trafficking or sex trafficking. So I saw a lot of pain and trauma that came from the city of Trenton. So that was the back end of me, dealing with that. So I want to come to the forefront and deal with it before it goes to other levels. And I know those levels and what is required. And so I'm looking forward to doing that and connecting to all the various levels of government to help in that process.
Yeah, and more importantly, how do you feel, how are your relationships with certain elected officials and executives in the same space that you're operating in, and to negotiate getting funding for Trenton and getting us our fair share of resources, whether it be capital, human resources, expertise, and bringing it to Trenton, right? How is it that you can go to the state Department of Health and Human Services, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and advocate or lobby for funding for your department? Can you do that?
Oh, absolutely. You're going to learn about me, Councilwoman Vaughn, that I am the voice.
Okay.
and the mayor knows that, and I would do that based on his approval because he is my boss. Yeah. And so, and he would, I would go with him, and so that would never be a problem for me at all. Never.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Okay, Council President, I yield my time, and thank you very much. And I will be voting yes for you, but I must say, we get in this position for 11 other, 10 other directors. And one thing I will ask of you, Dr. Lopez, is that, once you get my vote, please don't change up on me. Please don't change up on me. Because a lot of our directors got their vote, and boy, they changed up, and they didn't look the council. They don't look at the council anymore, and they put their thumb on the scale for the mayor every day, all day. So if you could just try to keep an unbiased eye and keep your focus, not so much on the mayor or the council, but on the residents and the taxpayers of the city and the people who need your services. So if you could do that, then I will be your champion. For sure. So you will have my vote, but don't change up on us now.
I appreciate that. I hope you guys don't change up on me either. We're in this together. I really appreciate that, Councilwoman Vaughn. I truly do.
Okay. Thank you, Council President. I yield my time.
Thank you.
Do you have any left? So listen,
No, Council President, okay? But thanks for not interrupting me, Council President.
Just a little humor, Councilwoman. Dr. Lopez.
Yes.
First, I would like to welcome you on board. And there's a couple things that I wanted to discuss with you before giving you my vote. And one of the most important things is that these nonprofits. I want to talk about the Trenton Health Team and the Henry J. Austin Health Center. During this pandemic, the Trenton Health Team, along with the county and the administration, took a COVID testing site up to Route 1 outside of Trenton. And the Henry J. Austin Health Center, which I am a patient of, I take my Blue Cross and Blue Shield insurance to the Henry J. Austin Health Center. They basically have closed their doors as far as getting in to see a doctor. Everything is virtual, no physical examinations going on. They refer you to the emergency room if you have a problem. And so a lot of our Trentonians don't have a voice to really talk about their concerns and about how they're not able to actually have physical contact with the doctor, that they're referring us all to the emergency room for treatment. How can you address those concerns of the Trentonians as far as needing to actually see their physician, not being referred to the emergency room, and the Trenton Health Team? What role is the Trenton Health Team actually playing here in the city to help us with our issues? And so those are my two concerns: the Henry J. Austin Health Center turning all of their patients to the emergency room. Now, mind you, a lot of Trentonians don't have the transportation to get up to Hopewell and the St. Francis or the Capitol Medical Center on Brunswick Avenue. So it's a problem. And so are we going to be trying to get the Henry J. Austin Health Center to open their doors back up gradually to start seeing their patients, or how are we going to handle that?
Right. Well, we do have standing meetings with the Trenton Health Team, and Henry J. Austin is part of that standing meetings, as well as the CEOs and presidents of the hospitals. So we always talk about COVID-related ER visits and admission and hospitalizations. And so one of the things I do talk to Dr. Evans with Henry J. Austin quite a bit. And so I can have that discussion with her and see what they're looking forward in doing. I wasn't aware that was an overall, system that was in place for all of their patients. For me, I don't see the ER being something that's really the best option for residents to go to. The COVID rates is increased because of a lot of visits. You're talking about ER COVID visits, just the hospital visits alone. In 1 week, we had quite a few just from the different wards. The West Ward had the highest numbers. I believe it was like up to 40 individuals from the West Ward going to the ER. Just for COVID-related visits. And so when you're talking about sending them to the ER for that is concerning. And I can have that discussion and discuss that. And that was one of the things that I did mention, that with Dr. Bonaparte and I looking at opening up a free health clinic at our health office. We do have a clinic there, and trying to incorporate some things there. Dr. Bonaparte see patients physically. So there are ways that you can see your patients in the midst of a pandemic. And so I can definitely move forward and advocate and have a discussion with Henry J. Austin about that. As far as Trenton Health Team, they do a lot of our data statistical information that we need in regards to the numbers of where we are with the city, the hot spots that are needed in the city, and what our positivity rate is. So they're very helpful in that and in the marketing piece and really getting us connected to additional vaccines as well as hospitals when that is needed. So they are instrumental. A lot of value comes out of these meetings when we do have them. And so I do understand your concern, President McBride, and I will address that and see what we can do moving forward regarding our patients. So this is definitely the first I'm hearing of this. And so I'm thankful that you are sharing this with me, and I can circle back and give you a response to that.
Thank you. And
You're
so
welcome.
the second question that I wanted to ask was about the housing situation here in the city. We about a week ago, I could be time wise. I don't have to have the time right, but I believe it was like either 2 weeks ago or a week when the councilman encountered the situation down on Center Street.
Yes.
So like that is just one of the situations that we deal with on a daily basis. And the mayor can tell you that on a weekly basis almost, I'm calling him saying, you know, I have a family here that needs to be placed. The problem that I have is that we give all this money to Arm in Arm, Home Front, and all of these other organizations. And when we have people that need to be placed, we are placing our residents into hotel rooms. That is unacceptable. And so with all of these organizations that we're funneling all of this money to, the mayor should be able to just pick up the line and say to one of them, or even call you and say, doctor, get in touch with this organization, tell them I need housing for XYZ families. But in our case, we are going to the county. We are allowing the county to place our residents into rooms. And this incident on Center Street is just one out of hundreds. So my concern is this, that there's some type of system put in place for the mayor and for yourself to be able to call these nonprofits up that we funnel millions of dollars to, and they should have housing available for us, because not asking to curry favor, but our money should speak for us. If we're giving them 2.5 million and 1.2 million and so on and so on, we should be able to call these organizations and get emergency housing without placing our residents that have a family of 5. And doctor, you stated that you've worked with children and family services,
yes,
as I have for over 30 years. And you know, as I do, that if there's a man that's over the age of 18 and there's a child, a girl child over the age of 2, you cannot put that family with a young boy, a young girl, and their siblings and their mother into one room, because by the state guidelines, you can't do it. So how could we allow the county to put our residents into one rooms with a family of 5, 2 girls and a father and 2 sons? It's unacceptable. We shouldn't be allowing that, and we shouldn't allow the county to do that to our residents, because it's not the, first of all, the state law says it can't happen. And then second of all, we continuously allow them to do that. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I'm just going to move on, because I believe you get the point.
yes.
But
And
we need to have an emergency. We need to have a hotline straight to these organizations to be able to house our emergency families. We shouldn't have to go through the county for everything. We have to go through the county for some things, but for the better part of it, we should have a hotline to these organizations.
And I agree with you, Madam President. And I can talk to you offline because I definitely don't want to violate this family because it was a total of 12. And the state guidelines were adhered to. And it was 3 rooms and they stayed up in Ewing, in a hotel in Ewing. And also with this, based on the nature of what was occurring in that household, you can look at my previous department being involved because of the nature of what was happening in that home. That home is considered inhabitable. So to avoid
family as an
yeah.
example.
Yes,
but
exactly.
Like I said, it's hundreds of families in the city.
Exactly. And we would definitely work on putting a more seamless system in place to ensure that we're doing our part. And it's definitely, I definitely don't want to see a lot of our children going to the Department of Children and Families and leading them into foster care. Foster care is not the answer. We find out our children, they're not in the same home. They go into various homes in various counties throughout the state. So that's not always the best option either. So I knew that working from that end for 20 years. So it's good to be in this position that I'm in because I can be able to speak to that and develop systems that will be able to help the residents and orchestrate things that are in place. And also the ones you're saying, the systems that we are funding, the agencies, looking at it because there are certain guidelines and certain individuals can really be approved to stay in some of these particular agencies. But I do also want to look at developing a landlord portal because there are landlords in the city that do have available homes, but what can we do to orchestrate that as well? So that was something that I have been brainstorming since I knew about this family of 12 and really trying to develop a system that would be beneficial to the entire community. So I'm with you on that, Madam President, and we'll be working on that.
And I thank you for your time, Doctor, and I welcome you on board. And you definitely have my vote. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All righty. Mr. Conlon, if you could take this to a vote, please.
Ma'am, you'd like to move the resolution forward now?
Yes, I would. Make the motion.
Second, this is Resolution 21-139. This is a resolution of consent with the appointment of Dr. Adela M. Lopez as Director of the Department of Health and Human Services for the City of Trenton. Whereas Adela M. Lopez, MPA, EDS, EDD, currently serves as Acting Director for the Department of Health and Human Services. And whereas it's the desire of the Mayor to appoint Adela M. Lopez as Director of the Department of Health and Human Services, and whereas provided by City Code Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-4.5, the Mayor must seek the advice and consent of the City Council to appoint an active officer to fill the Department Director vacancy. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Trenton hereby consents to the appointment of Adela M. Lopez as Director of the Department of Health and Human Services for the City of Trenton, said term to expire December 31st, 2022. I have a motion by Council President McBride. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. Just bear with me for 1 second. And I call the roll. Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle. Mr. Michelle.
You have to unmute yourself, George.
I'll come back to
Councilman
Mr.
Michelle.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Unmute.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn.
Unmute yourself, Councilwoman.
Oh, I don't want to pull a George. Yes.
Councilman Michelle, your vote, sir?
Can you unmute yourself? Yes.
There we go, sir. You're unmuted now. Your vote, sir, I still didn't hear you. One more time, sir? I can hear you now, sir. Your vote on the appointment of Dr. Lopez? Yeah. Thank you, sir. Council President McBride.
Yes.
The resolution carries by a vote of 7-0. Congratulations, Dr. Lopez.
Thank you.
Director Dr. Lopez.
Thank you, City Council. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
City Council, very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
All righty. So, Mr. Collins, you may continue with the agenda.
Yes, ma'am. We do not have any minutes for review. We are going to be adding a staff member. That will be a priority, and that staff member is added. We're a little short on labor at the point in time. The resolutions, communications, petitions, noting the 3 accepted for executive session on Thursday. There are 68 others. If the council would like any of those others explained during that executive session, please contact my office. There will be one raffle report brought up for the meeting. This is an approval for a raffle filed by Signal 22 Association, holding off premises 50/50 November 20th, 2021. There are no ordinance for second reading public hearing. Council President, would you like me to go through would you like me to move it to the consent agenda, ma'am?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Next, we have Resolution 21-137. This is from the Department of Administration, Adam Cruz, Business Administrator. 21-137, a resolution authorizing an additional 5 extension to Capital Health Systems, DBA, the Corporate Health Center, to continue to provide occupational health clinical services for city employees from January 1, 2021 to May 31, 2021 in an amount not to exceed $84,583.35 through competitive contract 2017-06.
Can we roll call
I have
that?
I have a question for this one. May is next month. So this is just being brought before the council, and the contract will expire at the end of next month, Mr. Cruz.
Yes, Madam President. The bid opens tomorrow, and we will have it ready for the next docket.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Go right ahead, Mr.
Are we going to roll call this one? Because, Council President, could I have a question?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so this resolution authorizing an additional 5 months extension. So why are we extending?
We're extending this contract, Councilwoman, because we ran into a little bit of technical issue with the person that was overseeing the contract, and we advertised a little later than anticipated. And as I mentioned, it is now scheduled for opening tomorrow, and it will be ready for the next docket.
Okay, but then why did it take 5 months?
Yes, because it would cover for the last 3 months that we have been in operation. This contract is actually for to send our employees, new employees for drug testing, return to work. They do CDL random testing. And if we have somebody that does have suspicions of using drugs or being under the influence of alcohol, we send them there. The contract has been used, and we may run into 1 or 2 a week where, we need these services.
Okay, so drug testing, so we don't go out to LabCorp or what's the other one? No. So
we go through corporate health.
Okay. So, I just have a quick question. It seems like we're always extending and we're always late. Is there a reason for that, Mr. Cruz? Like, I don't want to use always, that's extreme language, but on multiple occasions, the council is stuck with, I seem like I don't want to reward or subsidize or enable bad behavior, right? So why aren't the directors getting in there, paying attention to their service provider contracts and acting in a timely manner? I think this is kind of a little bit negligent or lazy or, on the director's part. Am I wrong? Of course you're going to say that I am, but it's okay. So, why is this happening?
Actually, no, Councilwoman, I'm not going to say that you're wrong on this one. It happens that the individual that used to oversee the contracts resigned from the city, and this is one of the contracts actually that was not procure in time, and this is why we're coming to you now. But a new person has been put in place, and he's actually the one that caught this, and we came to you now.
Okay, so if you can just, over time going forward, try to minimize, late submissions and letting contracts expire and not
Yes.
getting, and acting, in a timely manner. Thanks.
Correct. Yes, thank you.
I don't
Do
need
you
to.
want this? Okay, add it to the consent agenda.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Next, we have Resolution 21-138, a resolution consenting to the extension of Ronald Zielinski as Acting Director for the Department of Finance for the City of Trenton.
Roll call, please.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions, ma'am?
No.
Yes, I have a question about this, so, we sent, I had contacted DCA about this because I didn't get any, I wasn't trying to go around or over any individual in doing so, but, I didn't see a waiver attached to this. And I know that there were a lot of questions from, several of our council members regarding this appointment. And still, tonight, we still don't see the waiver here, Mr. Collins.
I believe it was. I'm sorry, you were speaking to Mr. Collins. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
The waiver was initially acquired from DCA for Mr. Zielinski's appointment as CFO and the interim acting director. I don't know if that carries forward. I know he's been appointed as CFO. I don't necessarily know that DCA has the authority outside of the MOU for acting director, and I don't know if it is a standing waiver or not, but Mr. Bridges and Mr. Cruz would be more, because they would actually be the people acquiring the waiver.
Yes, Madam President?
Yes, go right ahead, Mr. Cruz.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam President. Yes, we do have a waiver every time that we have a similar situation where a director's temporary appointment expires. We have to go back to DCA to get another approval, and we did get the approval from DCA. So not only that, but we are actually partnering with DCA to assist us in doing the search for the permanent director. The advertisement is actually on our website once again. This is going to be the third time that we're going out for the director of finance because we have been unsuccessful in getting anybody, and not just a director, but also a consulting firm that can come and assist us during the time that that we would need that coverage. And we have done a search for a company 3 times, and we had done a search for director 2 times, and we have been unsuccessful. This time, as I mentioned, we are once again partnering with DCA. DCA is actually reaching out to other municipalities, extending the ad that we have out currently, and we are hopeful that maybe with their help, we can get somebody this time around. The advertisement is going to come down on, I believe it's May 30th, if I'm not mistaken. But we're hopeful that in the next 29, 30 days we can find someone.
Okay. Well, thanks for that, Mr. Cruz. And I'm definitely going to be focused on this and watching. And I certainly will submit some resumes of qualified candidates. Or tell them to respond to the RFP and see what you can obtain from that. But I hate to see this to be rolling every 90 days.
Yes, and hopefully this will be the last time, and we can get a viable candidate that can fill the position.
Yes, and someone who lives in Trenton.
Hopefully.
Or willing to move to Trenton. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you.
You may continue, Mr. Conlon.
Yes, next we have resolution, and this has already been voted on. I'll just read into the record, and congratulations again, Dr. Lopez, 21-139, a resolution consenting to the appointment of Dr. Adela M. Lopez as Director of the Department of Health and Human Services for the City of Trenton, which just passed by unanimous vote of 7-0. From the Department of Police, Sheila A. Coley, Director, Resolution 21-140, resolution amending the acceptance of the summer expansion program number J-J:6-18-17 for $7,446 from the State of New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety, Office of the Attorney General, to include the sub-awarded period of March 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2021. Floor is open.
You may add it to
I
the
have a
consent
question.
agenda.
I have a question.
Go right ahead, Councilwoman.
I'm sorry, but is Director Coley on the line, or one of the captains?
Director Coley is here.
Okay, so what is this programming for, and why is it only $7,446? What is this? What does this buy us? I mean, $7,000? I mean, is this for? What is this for? Oh, I'm sorry, Director Coley. What is this for?
Good evening, council members, council president. The $7,500 is a grant that we received for our youth programs. We're asking for it to be extended because unfortunately we were not able to use it during the year of 2020. So although it's a small amount of money, it is a grant that we received, and we accept all grants, regardless of the amount.
Oh, okay. I understand that. So, all right, very well. But I just want to say that, we should have more grant money coming in for youth programming. And, of course, $7,000, I guess, in and of itself seems very small. But if this is an aggregate of other grants that are applied to youth activities in the city, then great. But if we don't have enough youth funding, I would appreciate Director Coley, if you could share with the council, the total amount we have for this summer, for youth programming. I'm just curious to know that number, because I think, considering all the events of the day between, issues with Black Lives Matter, the police department reforms and forms in policing, we need to make sure this summer we have adequate programming. And if there isn't any funding, we need to kind of get ahead of this sooner rather than later. So if you could, send an email to the council and the clerk, if you can aggregate all your grant money that you have currently on your books for youth act programs this summer, it would be great. It's a number that, I want to know.
Okay, Councilwoman Vaughn, I would be happy to do that. As I stated, this is a grant. We look at for whatever grants that we can that applies to law enforcement, and the amounts will vary. However, largely and mostly in terms of youth activities in the city, that is normally handled through the recreation department, but we work hand in hand with Director Richardson during the summer. So there may be an activity that's actually funded by recreation, but personnel is supplied by police. So it's a combination of all departments working together to get the best that we can for our youth.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you educated me on that. So I will be looking for the same from Director Richardson, because we all should, including the mayor, going into the summer. We're at the top of the spring now, but, we're approaching Memorial Day really quickly. When all the parks and pools and beaches open, we need to, act quickly in getting some youth activities, not just for, for a range of ages, right? For older youth, the 18-year-olds, the 17-year-olds, not just for babies, okay? So let's do that. We used to have those programs for, high school age, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old folks in the city. And I argue that that's the reason why we have a lot of the gun violence and drug related activity. So if we don't have any programs, let's try to get some. Thanks.
Yes, Madam President, if I may add.
Yes, go right ahead, Mr.
Yes,
Cruz.
I just wanted to add that the city will be hiring approximately 200 youth this summer with the help of recreation. So I'm sure Maria can expand on that when when she's given the opportunity. But the application process is already ongoing, as well as interviews.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. You may
Thank you.
continue, Mr. Collins.
How do we want to docket this, ma'am? Consent?
Yes, that's a part of the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 21-141, a resolution authorizing a contract to Gold Type Business Machines, Inc. for purchase of 15 laptops for new police vehicles and hardware installation, lines number 189 and number 193 through New Jersey State Contract number T-0109-83904 for a period of 1 year from April 1st, 2021 to March 21st, 2022 in an amount not to exceed $104,451.75.
Council President?
Go right ahead, Councilwoman Colwell
Yes.
Wilson.
Mr. Cruz, could you please explain to council, because there's 141, 142, 143, and 144, which are substantially high resolutions, expenditures. Could you explain how this is going to work out, how it's being paid?
Yes, Councilwoman, if you give me 1 second, I'll look up the resolutions and tell you the way they are being paid, each one. First of all, 142, from 141 to 143, all three resolutions are related to the procurement of the purchasing of 15 2021 police vehicles. So it's 15 vehicles, and as you can see, 143 talks about the vehicles. The other one talks about the equipment that goes into the vehicles, because once we buy the vehicles, they come pretty much stripped, and we have to put the lights and sirens, radios, and all of that stuff. And then, of course, the computers are actually bought separately as well, and they are for the officers to be able to look up information when they when they are responding to emergencies or to calls. I'll look up the resolution.
So the actual form of payment is part capital and
Give me 1 second. We're buying the resolution 142 is with capital funding. Resolution 143 is with capital funding as well. And 141.
is that being split between fiscal
141.
years?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is it being split between fiscal years?
Well, when it comes to capital, it depends on the year that we have gotten the capital allotment. Give me 1 second. It doesn't tell me here from what year it's coming out of, so just give me 1 second.
Should on the certificate of funds, Adam.
Yeah, I'm looking for that. Thank you, sir. Yeah, no, it only says it's capital. I'm not sure if the director has a different breakdown than what I currently have. Director Coley, do you have anything different than what I have?
I'm actually looking through my paperwork as well.
Yeah, no, for all three resolutions, all I have is capital. So there's really no there is no source of a grant for the purchases of these vehicles.
So you're saying there's sufficient funding in the capital funding to purchase this, because one is for 104,000, one is for 503,000, the other one is for 213,000, and then the fourth one is for 269.
That is correct. Yes, we have enough funding.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilman Rodriguez.
Yes, I have a question, 141 and 143. Why two different companies are going to do? One says vehicles and hardware installation, and then there's another one, accessories and installations. It's like why two different things?
Councilman, Madam President, may I? I'm sorry.
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, the accessory, Councilman, are police radios, licensed sirens, and any other equipment that the police vehicle needs once it's purchased from the dealer. Once that is installed, then they go to another vendor for them to install the computers, because it's not the same vendor that provides the equipment.
Well, usually what I did for my vehicle was the same. The dealer, they have the vendor that came in, the dealer, and by the time I took my car out of the dealer, everything was set up, all the accessories that because I'm a disabled person. So why do we go to different vendors for this when probably the dealer could have done the whole thing at one price and a lower price if we had the whole thing? Computers have to be installed by one person.
Yeah.
The radios by other. And this is whoops.
Yeah, Councilman. So it's actually not done by design, by no means by any of us in the city or any municipality. That is just how the contracts are actually awarded through state contract. State contract are the ones that are the state procures the contracts for all municipalities, and then we buy from them. Dealers normally don't like to get involved with when it comes to equipment because it's cumbersome. It takes a long time, and they just want to sell cars. They want to sell you a car, and they want get you out of the lot. And so that is pretty much what they do, and it's up to the municipality to actually request the kind of equipment that they want to use in that municipality. Not all municipalities use the same equipment. So that's probably why they don't go through the headache of having to deal with individual municipalities and their needs once they sell you the vehicle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Add it to the consent agenda, please.
Yes, ma'am. Next, we have Resolution 21-142, a resolution authorizing contract with Chassis Winter Ford, Inc. for the purchase of 15 2021 Police Interceptor utility all-wheel drive vehicles to be utilized by the Patrol and Criminal Investigation Bureau through the New Jersey State Contract Number T-2776-20-Fleet-01189 for a period of 1 year from April 1st, 2021 to March 31st, 2022, in amount not to exceed $503,940.
I have a question, Council President.
Yes, go right ahead, Council.
Well, it relates to all the police contracts, right? So, B.A. Cruz just mentioned, that these are all related. You got to buy a new vehicle, you got to connect the computers, you got to connect everything, blah, 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 blah. So, my question is, how is this? Why are we buying all this new equipment and we're upgrading the radio room? So I suspect that the radio room is obsolete and we're going to sunset that, and we're going to potentially review new requirements for that communication facility because everything over there is outdated. So how can we be putting the cart before the horse and buying all this new technology, new computers for the cars and all this stuff, and as these resolutions outline, and how do we know it's going to be compatible with the new radio room platform?
Madam President, may I?
Yes, Council President? Can somebody answer my question? Can the police director answer my question, please?
Director Coley?
Yes. The reason why we're is because we're actually purchasing what you would consider hardware. Even if we sunset the computer system that we already have, we would software as opposed to the hardware. So by having the laptops, everything that we need now helps us facilitate the need that we have now. And if we move to a different system, it's just as simple as changing the software.
Okay. All right. So that's good. Because I don't want to start investing in new technology and it's not compatible with, the potential technology platform we're going to invest in after we sunset that antiquated radio room over there. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Madam, how would you like to
Yes,
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Resolution 21-143, a resolution authorizing a contract to Emergency Accessories and Installations to provide upfitting to 15 police vehicles that will be utilized by Patrol and Criminal Investigations Unit for New Jersey State Contract Number T-0106, 17 Fleet-00748 for a period of 1 year from April 1st, 2021 to March 31st, 2022 in an amount not to exceed $213,507.15.
If there's no questions, you can move it to the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 21-144, a resolution authorizing a contract to Hvac Enterprise, Inc. for the purchase of annual maintenance for body-worn cameras and investigative portal to be utilized by the Criminal Investigation Bureau through New Jersey State Contract Number T-0106, 17 Fleet-00738 for a period of 1 year from April 1st, 2021 to March 31st, 2022 in an amount not to exceed $269,653.
You may move it to the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Next, we have resolutions from the Department of Finance, Ronald Zielinski, Acting Interim Director. First, we have Resolution 21-145, a resolution authorizing the City of Trenton to issue a refund totaling $31,943.80 on 7 properties.
Madam President?
Yes, if Marlene can cut her camera off. Marlene L., can you cut your camera off? Thank you.
They are including...
Mr. Bridges, listen, you better stay on the line and do the right thing, Mr. Bridges.
What happened?
Go right ahead. Go right ahead, Councilman Rodriguez.
There's a list of properties here, and about a month ago, we voted on this 1,287.25 for Romero. Duplicate payment, we had already a resolution on this. And Mr. Condon sent me that copy of the resolution. Reimbursement. Why, Mr. Condon, you sent me for Ms. Romero. Why is Ms. Romero's name again here? It's somewhere in Second Street. I believe it's a residency. The resident. They didn't put it here.
Mr. Conlon, I apologize. I don't have the resolution that you gave to Councilman Santiago. Was it for the 2020 year third quarter as well?
Hold on 1 second.
And thank you.
Okay, so this is the resolution, and it was for The year is,
519 second Street.
yeah, it's 2020 third quarter.
Same thing, Romero Olga, duplicate payment.
$1,550.
No, she was trying to get her money, and they told her that have to go to a resolution. But I told her that we had already got a resolution.
He's right,
They
and
still put it here.
he did point it out, Adam. He actually is right.
I'm looking at it, and he is correct. At this time, I mean, I will pull this resolution, and we'll go back and double check these addresses to make sure that the rest of them are also accurate. So, Madam President, if I may pull this resolution for tonight.
Yes,
Thank you.
That's yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Collins.
Just sending him a note, just reminding him which resolution it was that Mr. Rodriguez had pulled.
Well, the city pulled it, sir.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the old resolution that Mr. Rodriguez asked me to pull for him to double check.
Verify.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. But much better word, verify. Shall we proceed, ma'am?
Yes, go right ahead.
Next, we have Resolution 21-146, a resolution authorizing the City of Trenton to cancel 5 erroneously sold tax sale certificates and refund the lien holder $37,746.27.
Is there any questions? If there's no questions, you can add that to the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Next, we have Resolution.
Leave it.
Someone needs to mute themselves.
Yes, ma'am. I'm looking for it. Next, we have Resolution 21-147, a resolution authorizing the City of Trenton to cancel taxes on 2 properties totaling $2,698.93 due to tax-exempt status.
If there's no questions, you may add that to the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Next, and on your docket, it may show 21-150. The administration did pull that after the docket was formed. And upcoming is 21-151. That was also pulled. I'll note that when we get to it. So 21-150 was pulled. Next, we have resolutions from the Department of Housing and Economic Development, Benjamin Delisle, Director. First, we have Resolution 21-
Madam President, how about
Yes, go right ahead.
21-148? 21-148.
That's what I'm reading into the record now, sir.
Oh, okay. You went to 150.
Well, 150 was listed on the docket first, sir. So it was 150 was pulled, and I am on 148 now. 150 was for a different department. 150 was under Dr. Lopez's department. This is under Director Delisle's department. This is Resolution 21-148, a resolution authorizing return of a grant from the Smith Family Foundation for Homeless Housing at 127 Academy Street in Trenton during the COVID-19 outbreak in the amount of $50,000.
I have to say something about this resolution. This is for 127 Academy Street. And a year ago or so, during the beginning of the pandemic, there were plans to make small apartments there, but we had a report from the mayor's office saying that there was work being done there already in that building. And now we are returning the $50,000 because no work was done. So I'd like to have a report, a financial report on the money that was spent in those charters or prospective charters, because this doesn't sound right. That nothing happened with that building, but we were told that they were working in the plumbing. There were problems with the plumbing problems, and they were working on them. So, because we asked, I believe Ms. Bond and I asked about that issue, and we were told that there was work being done at that time. But according to this, nothing was done. They switched to Perry Street.
Madam President, if I may, Mr. Delisle is actually ready to speak. Is ready to speak on this resolution.
Council President, may I?
Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you, Council President. Councilman Rodriguez, you're correct. We did initiate some work at 127 Academy Street. If you recall, during the pandemic, we were, acting very quickly to try and secure shelter space. We quickly determined that there was a lot of work that needed to be done in the property, and that it was requiring extensive repairs. But in addition to that, the owner declared bankruptcy, which really put everything on hold. As things progressed, we needed another shelter, which is why we established the one on Perry Street. And then with time found that the size of that shelter met the demands of sheltering activities we needed for COVID. This particular grant was awarded by the Smith Family Foundation for 127 Academy Street. Because we were not able to stand that shelter up, in the end, we realized we didn't need a shelter of that size. They've requested for their funds to be returned. Certainly, we have expended money at Perry Street, and we requested that they shift not the intent of the funds, but the location. And the Smith Family Foundation just didn't feel that it met their criteria and denied that petition from the city and requested that the funds be returned.
Council President?
Can I just finish? Just real quick. At that time, I believe it was a lease that we approved for 127 Perry Street, and the other was by the Mercer Hospital around 445 Fairview, if I'm not wrong, 445 or 4 some Fairview, which is a building by the Mercer Hospital that was part of that deal. Both of them, we approved leases for those two places. What happened? Did we pay the owners? What happened there? I'd like to have a report on that. Not just tell me, I'd like to see paperwork on that with numbers, with where that money went from. I knew that the 127 Academy, that's a private building. I know the owner, an American guy. I know who the guy is. It was the same one that was caught with dumping all kinds of stuff from somewhere in the city. But if that wasn't a city building, why were we investing money in fixing plumbing and stuff for a privately owned building? It was an emergency, but that was emergency money that we threw down the drain. Thank you.
Council President, may I respond?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Councilman, yes, you're correct. We did, council did authorize action on both those properties. We never did enter into a lease at the convent, or the former convent, so no monies were expended there. And with regard to 127 Academy Street, we were never able to come to terms on a lease. And then we found or discovered that they had significant tax debt or liens on the property. So what we did is we placed the property into receivership because we never wanted to pay them rent money. What we're going to do is take it as a credit to the taxes that were due. It is true we did spend some money doing repair work there, and we have initiated tax foreclosures there on the property because of the excessive tax debt on the property, and we've petitioned the court to recoup those funds should the property be sold. Again, it's going through bankruptcy right now, so there's a lot of legal actions on the property.
You have a 445 Bellevue.
445 Bellevue?
If I'm not wrong, that was it was a 400 block of Bellevue by the old Mercer Hospital. That was another lease that we were contemplating there.
Council President, if I may.
Yes.
That's 416 Bellevue is the old medical.
Okay,
medical office building. Yes, we had evaluated that building and started making preparations. A lease was never entered into in that facility either. Again, we were trying to secure various locations in response to the pandemic. Certainly never been in this kind of position before, and try to get things lined up and respond accordingly as the needs arose. And as I stated before, the Perry Street location proved to be sufficient to meet the needs of the city during the pandemic in sheltering. I don't believe it was ever full. If it was, it certainly was never over capacity.
So I'm requesting a report on those transactions, all the transactions that happened during the pandemic, in writing and copies to, I like to have copies to everybody in council as soon as possible.
Okay.
Council President?
Go right ahead, Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yes, I concur with everything that Council at Large Rodriguez has stated. And I believe that Mr. Delisle's answers are not sufficient. I know for a fact that the council approved substantial portions of the CARES Act funding to this purpose, to provide alternative housing to citizens who contracted the virus. And this was at the height of the virus. And I remember that the director of Health and Human Services said that, she was collaborating with the Department of Health and Human Services. It was at the time our former health director, Ms. Shakira Abdul Ali, advocated for the funding and said that they were buying beds and medical equipment for the Versa Hospital over there. I think it was 427, I think, but I could look that up. But and Mr. Delisle chimed in and supported her and said that he's solidifying the leases, as the Councilman Rodriguez stated. And this is very concerning that information is being misrepresented to this council and to the public. Now, the money, a reputable organization in the Smith family is asking for their money back because the Department of Economic Development didn't use it as they thought they were going to use it. And by the same token, we as the council, who manages and the stewards of taxpayer dollars, and we're the stewards of all the grant money, particularly the CARES Act money that we allocated for this purpose. And here we are today. We should be just as incensed or pulling out, reversing our resolutions too, just as the Smith family has done. Because I don't believe Mr. Delisle has used that funding as he had presented in those resolutions, and nor did the Director of Health and Human Services use use that funding of the CARES Act as we thought, as we intended through our vote. So our intent was not acted on properly by Mr. Delisle. So yes, I want to see those reports that Mr. Rodriguez is asking for, and I'm going to pull those Mr. Collin, please pull all those resolutions, and I can send you the list of them that needs to be pulled because I remembered them. Because I was even concerned, and I questioned them at length, how they were going to set up these facilities that were decrepit, that needed a lot of work. How were they going to put medical equipment in there to assist these ill patients? And these two directors sat there, in our meetings and discussed ad nauseum how they were going to do this and the amount of funding that we had to give them in order for them to provide to build out these buildings for the purpose of because these patients couldn't go to St. Francis Hospital, and the city of Trenton had to accommodate them, and they were going to come from all over the county and this, that, and the other, and this has to be some accountability here by the Director of Economic Development. You just can't be putting up resolutions and changing them along the way without coming to the council. So if in fact you moved to Perry Street, then you should have came to the council and told us that you were moving to Perry Street, because we didn't know anything about it until now. At least I didn't. So this is unacceptable, because this is taxpayer dollars, okay, that are being given to us from other governments, state government and federal government. And we just can't willy-nilly just do what we want with them, Mr. Delisle. So I'm done, Council President, but I want all those resolutions pulled, every single dime that the council allocated from that CARES Act to Mr. Delisle, and I want to know how it was used, because we need to pull it back and maybe allocate it elsewhere if he didn't use it for the intent that was described in those resolutions.
Council President, Mary?
No, I don't have nothing to say. I don't need him to say anything. Just get those reports.
Council President, just
Alrighty.
one point of clarity.
Mr. Delisle, the council did not want a response. They just want the report. So if we could just get the reports, that'd be nice. Mr. Collins, may we continue?
Yes, ma'am. Next, we have how do we want to proceed with 21-148? Roll call or consent?
Yeah, roll call.
That's to refund the Smith family.
Oh, I
care
see.
funds.
I'm sorry. Yes.
And so we need to add that to the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. To provide printing and mailing services for regular, final, and corrected billing for Division of Water Billing from April 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2021 in an amount not to exceed $32,313.
If there's no questions on this, we can add it to the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Next, we have resolution, just for the record, resolution 21-151, which would have been next on the docket, was pulled by the administration. Next, we have resolution 21-152. Resolution number 20-315, authorizing a contract for an additional 1 year due to COVID-19 and to correct previous account number awarded to Crown Castle Fiber LLC to establish a private, highly secured wire fiber optic communications at the water utility remote facilities. This contract shall be extended from February 12th, 2021 to February 11th, 2022. No additional funding should be utilized. Floor is open.
Roll call.
I have a. Did you somebody say?
Yes, Councilman Rodriguez said roll call.
Yes.
But the question, Mr. Lavenberg, what was the original price attached to this contract?
Council President, my apologies. I do have to look up the value of that. I can certainly get that to you, but there is going to be no price increase. It was just a change of, dealing with COVID and what we needed to get done versus what we can do at a later date. So the contractors agreed to hold that price. I can certainly get you the price.
Just for the record,
Madam President,
the first whereas clause.
is it
The first whereas clause.
76,000?
Yeah,
176.
Wait, excuse me. Go ahead. Could you explain, Mr. Lavenberg? You said the company said that they'll hold their price, but for what reason would a company hold their price? Did they not do anything that they should have done because of COVID? Because if they didn't do anything, If they didn't act upon the contract, shouldn't the contract be voided?
Oh, no, they're well underway, and they've established a communication between our central pump station and the filtration plant, which was absolutely critical to be done at the time. This is for additional work that's going to connect the water tanks to the filtration plant. I'm sorry.
I'm listening.
Water tanks, they're not even full.
I'm sorry. Reference
right
to the
ahead,
water
Mr.
tank? Is there a
Lavender.
question about the water tanks? I'm sorry.
No. I'm listening to your explanation,
Oh.
Mr. Lavingberg.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, the work didn't get done, and the contractor is going to continue on with the contract at no price change.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman. What was it?
Yeah, the original resolution was 2315, and it was adopted July the 2nd, 2020. And the contract went from February 11th, 2014 to February 11th, 2021.
So the contract is up.
Yes. So Madam President,
No, wait a minute. No. So I asked Mr. Lavingberg, I said, Mr. Lavingberg,
Yes, Council.
did they do any of the work? And if they didn't do any of the work, it should have been canceled. First, I asked him the price tag that was associated with this. And then I asked if they hadn't done any work. So then he said the work was on the way. But if the work was on the way and they complete the work, it shouldn't be an extension. They should just complete the work. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here.
And that's all we're asking. So Council President, yes, the work is not complete. We're asking for an extension to get the work completed at the original cost.
Wait, hold up.
Okay,
Hold up.
Mr. Bridges.
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Bridges. So help us understand this. If they had a contract that was up in February of 2021, and they said for whatever reason, due to COVID, they weren't able to go outside and work because the tanks are outside or whatever the reason is, they want to put a new resolution up. But shouldn't they just complete the work under the resolution that they had? Why do they need a resolution to finish a job that they were paid to do?
Because quite frankly, that the date within which they were to do that is expiring, and we need to extend it so that we can have a valid resolution / agreement contract for that at the original price. So
no, but there's no price attached because they've already been paid. I mean,
right,
the contract is
No, they haven't been paid.
The resolution was already approved up to, and they were supposed to complete their work under the previous resolution, and it expired in February. Here it is. We're here in April, 4 or 5 days from May, saying give them another extension. And my question to you, acting law director, is why are we giving them another resolution 4 months after the date when they have a contract for a certain amount of money to do a job that they didn't complete? So do you need a resolution to finish what you've been contracted to do?
you don't need a resolution, but you need the formality of having that resolution extended to cover the time periods within which they're working. And because those time periods have expired, the formality of putting an extension through is proper as to legality and as to form. But they still have an obligation legally and contractually to do what they were contracted to do. And I can't speak to the timing as to why this is coming up now, but I can speak to the underlying contract. They are contractually obligated to do what they bid to do for the amount that they bid to do it, as reflected in here, and as I understand, have not been paid heretofore, but will be paid once the work is completed.
So, Mr. Collins, Mr. Collins, I would like for the record to show that 21-152 cannot, under any circumstances, come back to us for not one red cent. Let that be a part of the record, because this contract should have been completed in February. And even if we extend this contract, for them to come back 6 months later and say, hey, well, guess what? We ran into a cost that we did not foresee. No, that's not about to happen. They're going to have to complete that work for the amount that was attached to the original resolution.
Council President?
That would be my expectation as well.
Council President, may I?
Yes, Councilwoman Caldwell.
Yeah, Mr. Bridges, if this contract term expired, weren't they in violation of the contract for not completing the work? And shouldn't this have been rebid?
Council President, Council Vice President, may I just get a word in, please?
Go ahead.
All right. For order this contractor to do the work, okay, we had to have people on site working with them, okay? And as you're well aware, we were working on an AB schedule. So we didn't have the personnel there on site to get it done. As to the Council President's statement, Council President, I guarantee you there will not be any change to this resolution. It will not be 1 penny over what the resolution is.
Council President, may I also respond to Councilwoman Caldwell's inquiry?
Yes.
Thank you for the question, Councilwoman. Yes and no. The reality is, given the pandemic, there is really an issue with force majeure. There is an issue with the AB schedule, and they would have a valid reason why, from a timetable perspective, they were unable to complete the project within which the time is reflected in there. So, under normal circumstances, I would agree with you. But given the extenuating circumstances that we've been operating under and are now hopefully coming out of, I would think that it would be reasonable, and I think a court would also find it reasonable, the reason for their inability to effectuate and complete it on time.
Council
President,
President.
Thank you.
Council President.
President?
Yes. I'm going to go to Councilman Rodriguez and then to you, Councilwoman Vaughn.
Okay.
I don't know how many people takes to go and probably open up a gate or those towers and stuff. The COVID emergency did not do anything to construction. Construction kept going at 100%. That was the only thing that kept going. Under the COVID emergency, come on. How many people from Waterworks had to be there, Mr. Lavenberg? How many? All you needed is one to go probably open the gate, because they were going to do the rest. The construction team was going to do that. I believe that we should have another RFP. They violated the contract, and that's what we should do. We should not agree to this. No, if they had plenty of time, there was no people there. They were not going to be exposed. The governor said that they could keep on going, making money. The contractors, the big contracts, construction, they were exempt from the emergency. I heard that before already, that claiming, due to COVID, they couldn't do this. They could. That's not true. That's not true at all, because the emergency order allowed this construction to go on. And don't tell me how many people from Waterworks were going to be working there, Mr. Lavenberg.
Where's Mr. Lavenberg? Did he drop off?
No, I'm here. I'm sorry. Is there a question?
Mr. Councilman Rodriguez was asking a question.
I'm sorry, that was a statement. I didn't understand if there was a question. Is the question how many people need to be
Yes, the
involved?
question-
How many of the workers were going to be involved?
Sure, okay, well, you got maintenance men, you need electricians, we need our computer people, we need people back at the,
For what? For what?
at Phil,
The
at,
company,
because you're
the
hooking up,
constructor is going to do that?
well,
Councilwoman Vaughn, could you mute yourself, please?
it's certainly up for, look, this is a resolution to extend the contract so we can get the work done. You know, the vote is certainly up to you. I'm glad this is
Well,
so,
people already know to it. Thank you.
thank you.
All right, you may continue. This is a roll call. Mr. Conlon.
Yes, ma'am.
President, I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Lavenberg, I agree with Vice President Caldwell Wilson and what she inferred a little bit there, and Councilman Rodriguez, and also everybody on this. This is outrageous that a company set on their work. It did not complete any of the work that was outlined in their initial contract, and now they said they didn't draw down on the money. Is that a fact, Mr.
They
did not draw down on the 76,000?
Yes, Council President, if I may.
Yes, go right ahead, Mr. Lavenberg.
So, to be clear, they have completed the work that was very critical between the central pumping station and the filtration plant. As far as the work goes to the satellite tanks, okay, that work was not completed, but not at their fault. It's because we couldn't provide the personnel to get people out there. Now, we
Okay,
can
my
say,
question is, how much more money is left on the contract? How much did they draw down?
I can get that information for you. I'll get you the drawdown. I can have that for you tomorrow.
Okay, so before the vote on Thursday, we're going to roll call this. We want this information. How much did they draw down on this contract?
Not a problem.
And if they drew 100% down, or 99% down, or 90% down, then I would say they're in breach of contract. Period.
Okay.
And we should not be offering a resolution.
I'll get that for you tomorrow. I'll have the city clerk.
And then, I see in this thing that it says that if the work is deemed necessary in order to achieve compliance with the New Jersey Water Accountability Act and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security recommendation. Is that part of our ACO?
No.
Oh, okay. It's not.
No, it's part of the Water Accountability Act.
Okay. So in the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, that we got to secure all our water infrastructure, right?
I would say we're going to reinforce our security.
So we have
purposes to discuss that.
Oh, so we have security already.
Correct.
Okay, and we're not allowed to discuss it.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, well, I'm not trying to discuss it. I just want to make sure that, So, okay, so good enough. So, all right, so we got security.
Well, we do, but it's much more.
Okay, I'm not going to be voting for this, but if you can give me those numbers, I want to know if they drew down completely. And if this is the case, I think that they're in breach of contract and we should put it back out to RFP. Okay?
Not a problem. It would be
roll call, Council President. Thank you.
It would be a bid, not an RFP, Councilman.
A what?
A bid. We go out to bid for that. It's not a professional service.
Okay. Well, all right. Very well.
So, right, that will be roll call. Mr. Conlon, and we can move on to 21-153.
Yes, ma'am. Next, we have Resolution 21-153, a resolution awarding a contract through a fair and open process in accordance with NJSA 19:44 Cap A-20.4 et sec to Pioneer Environmental Group LLC for underground storage tank regulatory compliance management and licensed site remediation professional LSRP work on an as-needed basis for a period of 1 year from April 16, 2021 to April 15, 2022 in an amount not to exceed $42,206 through RFP 2021-05.
Question,
Roll.
Madam President?
Yes. Go right ahead, Councilman Rodriguez.
Where is the location of those tanks?
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Mr. Lavenberg.
Okay, so that would be at the Cortlandt Street facility as well as the filtration plant facility. As many of you should be aware or will be aware soon, we did have multiple violations because we did not have a contractor monitoring our underground storage tanks for our ferric chloride. And much to our dismay, back in 2010, we discussed there was supposed to be the demolition of 2 aluminum sulfate tanks. Those tanks were not demolished, and unfortunately we found chemical in them, and we've had a very expensive remediation process having those tanks decommissioned. And I just say that because of the emphasis and the importance of having, Trenton project managers on these sites, on these projects to ensure that these large jobs are monitored by Trenton employees to make sure these things are complete.
I don't see those locations anywhere in this resolution.
So, do you want to roll call that, or could it be added to the consent agenda, Councilman Rodriguez?
Well, roll call it.
Yes, I have a question on that one too.
Go right ahead.
So a lot of underground storage tanks, the city has a need for underground storage tank regulatory compliance. So I never even knew we had underground water tanks. I mean,
No, these are chemical tanks, Council.
oh, underground storage tank.
Storage tanks, right, and they're storing toxic chemicals when they're in concentration. So, yes, and apparently a lot of people did not know we had these tanks, and very unfortunately, we found out the hard way.
Why? Are they leaking? Like, where are these things located?
Yes, they're at the filtration plant, and yes, they were leaking, and yes, as I stated, they were supposed to be decommissioned in 2010, and they were not.
If they were leaking, then how come we didn't get a letter from DEP telling us that they were leaking?
Oh, we got a letter, and we're getting a violation, and there'll be a fine.
When did you get this letter? How come you didn't share it with the council?
And the community.
This occurred in 2019. I guess when Shane Fouché was the director. I mean, I was on site when the DEP showed up, and I would have gladly shared it with you. It was quite intense, and it's been
okay. All right. So do me a favor. Do you still have copies of that letter? Correct.
I can get you the entire case study if you want, the notice of violation, the whole 9 yards.
No. I don't want the notice of violation. I want to notice that the storage tanks are leaking.
Yeah, that's the notice of violation.
Okay, yeah, that's all.
Sure.
I don't need the whole, novel. I just need that.
Hey, I'm going to be coming to you shortly with what the penalty's going to be.
Well, that's fine, but I'm not going to be improving anything until I see that. Okay, so it should have been attached to this resolution, and it should have been stated here that we're in violation. This is why we need the resolution.
Okay.
So where does it say that we're in violation and the storage tanks are leaking? Because the public needs to know that our storage tanks are leaking.
Well, no, and they were leaking.
Yeah, but I said the public does. We didn't know that, right? We didn't know that. No one from Trenton Water.
We can pull the resolutions where you would have hired the companies to come in and do the cleaning for the leaks. That's all been done through resolution. they were pretty expensive, and and again, that was kind of during my absence, but I'd be happy to get you anything related to the storage tanks.
All I'm asking, sir, is can you attach that violation to this resolution so we can have a full comprehensive understanding why we are engaging this company? Because it doesn't state that.
I'd be more than happy to, and then any additional supplement documentation, I'd be happy to get that to you as well.
Okay, and you're going to have that to us by Thursday, right? Because we got to vote on this on Thursday.
I will attempt to get you that by Thursday if we need to pull it. I don't have an issue pulling it.
Okay, I got to ask Mr. Bridges a quick question then. No, you need to, sir. You need to do that, Mr. Lavenberg, right? The public wants to know if their water utility storage tanks are leaking, okay?
Well,
right? We're entitled to know that information.
Sure, that was done under a different resolution.
It does.
Okay, Councilwoman,
the leaks and the remediation was done under separate resolution. I can get this as well.
Mr. Lavenberg,
Yes.
If we could just get the information before Thursday, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
And Council President, can I just ask the law department a quick question regarding the same?
Go right ahead.
Mr. Bridges?
Yes.
Are you aware of this? You are aware that we're in litigation, right, about our water utility, right?
Yes, I am.
So this is a violation. It's considered. Mr. Lavenberg just shared. Can you follow up with that to make sure that our water law attorney is aware of this?
Be happy to.
Okay. Thanks.
Welcome.
Mr. Collins, that's going to be roll called, and you may continue to 21-154.
Yes, ma'am. Next, we have Resolution 21-154, a resolution exercising the option to extend the contract for an additional 1 year awarded to Worthing Company for the maintenance of HVAC systems at the Trenton Waterworks Company from May 6, 2021 to May 5, 2022, in an amount not to exceed $64,600 through bid 2020-24.
Council President?
Go right ahead. Roll call, Mr. Collins.
Yes, roll call.
Right.
So the HVAC system, is this for which building?
This would be for filtration and for Portland Street.
Okay, is this ongoing maintenance?
This is just routine maintenance and emergency repairs.
Okay. But why are we extended? Does it have an option to extend?
Yes.
Okay, I see it at the bottom. The city of Trenton has authorized. Okay, so all right. So this is the last and final extension, right? Before we go out to bid, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I have no questions.
All right. We may continue to 21-155.
Yes, ma'am. Resolution 21-154 was noted as roll call. Next, we have Resolution 21-155. Excuse me. A resolution authorizing payment for a contract with Joseph Cingoli & Sons, Inc., awarded on an emergency basis for sewer repairs at the intersection of Hamilton Avenue and Chestnut Avenue in the city of Trenton in an amount not to exceed $65,931.63 for the Trenton Sewer Utility.
Roll call.
Yeah, roll call. Council President?
Yes, go right ahead.
Mr. Lavenberg. So I guess this was a major water main break, correct?
No, this is a sewer main.
Sewer main break. And do you know what time this thing happened? I guess in the middle of the night?
I think it was reported at night, the entire project took a span of 15 days. Again, it's noted that it was heavy traffic, and then there was snow delays as well. and the county forced us to shut down the excavation and cover it during the snow event.
Okay. Now, again, why can't your Mr. McIntyre and yourself deploy city employees on these emergency type issues? Why is it that we always have to go out the contract at $65,000, $80,000, $100,000 a pop when we can go, when we have the resources in house to fix these? Who is the Sean Simple? I see Sean. I have seen Sean out on these water main break sites, all over Trenton over the years. So why isn't these employees doing the work? Why do we have to go out and pay Joseph Gingoli and Son $70,000?
So in this particular case, it's on a county road. And you'll notice that the depth of this job was 12 feet deep. Okay, a water main break is 4 feet deep. Also, in addition to that, you had gas and electric lines that had to be done around, and we do not have the expertise to go that deep, work around those utilities, and most importantly, the ability to effectuate the repair on a county or state road, which does require a contractor.
Oh, it does? Is that pursuant to statute?
That is pursuant to the way that Trenton does it. I would have to look up the statute of that. We'd certainly investigate that.
Well, that's for the law
When we have a water main break, when we have a water main break on a county or state road, we do engage a contractor for that as well.
Oh, okay. And Mr. Bridges, can you confirm that for us, whether or not that's per state statute?
Be happy to.
Okay. Don't forget now.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Thank you. Yes, go right ahead, Councilman Rodriguez.
The background says that this emergency occurred December the 10th, 2020. If I'm not mistaken, because I drive through there every day, there was some construction going on there, the same spot, about a little bit over a year ago. There was something there because, yes, it's deep, because I looked down there and it was deep. But do we have another break a year ago? Or is it that Gingoli just waited, and since we want these emergency contracts to be paid within, 90 days to get the vouchers for them or whatever? And how many times had that same pipe broken?
Right. That's not.
Excuse me.
Yeah, ma'am, please do not interrupt the council, please. Thank you.
This is not new. This same spot, I seen that they opened it and closed about 3 times already within the past year and a half or so. What's going on in that area? Mr. Lavenberg, can you enlighten me on that?
Councilman, if you have any evidence to believe that Gingoli came back and did something untoward towards the city, please, if you want to forward me that.
That's not my question, Mr. Lavenberg. I'm asking you, within the last year and a half, have there been any other leaks or breakdowns in that same spot? Because I have seen people working there. I don't know if it was Gingoli or who it was, but I seen that they covered it up for about 2 months, and then, or longer than that, and then they went back, opened back up, worked for a while, and then finally completed it. That was in December the 10th, Mr. Lavenberg.
Okay, I would have to ask Superintendent McIntyre about what was going on there a year and a half ago.
Yes, please. That's what I want to ask. You don't have to be putting, calling me liar or whatever. All you have to do is do your research.
Sure, I'm
not saying. I told you I saw people working there way before December 10th.
Okay, and in what year are we talking here? 2020, 2021?
2020, 6 months ago.
6 months ago from now, or 6 months ago, like in the summer?
No, you're talking about December the 10th. That's what this.
That's when this job
you see occurred December the 10th of 2020.
Right. This job did take place on December 10th, 2020, and then you believe work was going on there 6 months prior to that. So in July.
Yes, at least 6 or a month before that. There was work done twice. I saw people working there twice.
Okay.
Before December 10th.
All right. Now,
if I would have known that this was going to come in front of me, I would have stopped and taken a lot of pictures. And I would have gone to the prosecutor, not to you.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I'll do my best to find out if any work was going on there. I could check with Joe McIntyre. I mean, I believe that was, I don't believe since I've been here that I recall any work at that intersection, but I mean, we have a lot of breaks that go on, so, but that's the first I've heard of it. But if we have anything, well, I'll certainly let you know that by Thursday.
It was probably before your time, before when Mr. Smith was the director.
Okay. I'll do whatever I can. I mean, if there's any work that goes on out there, I can.
Well, I like to get information on that. And
right.
The rest of council deserves information on that also.
Okay. Well, look, I'm going to have to get together with the county because the county issues the road opening permit, so that may take a little bit of time. If we need to pull the resolution, we can pull that as well.
You pull it. That's not a problem.
Okay.
The goalie doesn't need to.
Mr. Collins, you may continue.
Yes, ma'am, and it's been marked for roll call. Council President, that is the end of the resolutions that were on the docket. We have 3 requests for walk-ons. I'll handle them one at a time, and we can decide how to proceed with them. First walk-on is Resolution 21-157, a resolution honoring the life of Raphael Valentin and his service to the city of Trenton. Council President, how would you like me to proceed with that?
Yes, whomever is presenting it may make the motion.
I make the motion.
Mr. Rodriguez is making a motion to walk, this would be for Thursday, Mr. Rodriguez, correct?
Yes.
To walk on 21-157. And if the motion passes, I'll read it into the record. I have a motion by Mr. Rodriguez to walk this on. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Caldwell-Wilson. Call the roll. Mr. Blakely?
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell-Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Michelle?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Council President McBride?
Yes.
Council President McBride, I'll read this into the record now. This will be walked on, voted on Thursday. This is Resolution 21-157, resolution honoring the life of Raphael Valentin and his service to the city of Trenton. That's on behalf of all council members. Mr. Rodriguez is sponsoring the resolution. Whereas through his adult life, Raphael Valentin was a cherished member of the Trenton community and a valued employee of the city of Trenton. And whereas Mr. Valentin became a resident of the city of Trenton in the 1980s, during which time he worked for the New Jersey Department of Human Services and as an affirmative action officer, ensuring equal employment opportunities for all. Whereas Mr. Valentin had an extensive education and experience in the field of industrial labor relations, as well as equal employment, and shared those gifts with the community and with the city of Trenton. Whereas Mr. Valentin served as the Vice President of Labor Relations for William Patterson College, but at the same time found time to assist Latinos and other minorities in organizing their communities, and was responsible for implementing a Latino leadership program in the state of New Jersey and the Latino Merchants of Trenton. Whereas Mr. Valentin recognized the important role of bridging different ethnic communities and assisted Latino merchants in partnering with other groups, including the African American Chamber of Commerce. Whereas in 2019, Mr. Valentin brought his skills and expertise to employment with the city of Trenton as a senior administrative analyst in the Department of Water and Sewer, and thereby assisted many Trentonians in finding employment with the city and fortifying the Water and Sewer Department, and otherwise served in an invaluable role. And whereas Mr. Valentin's sense of humor, kindness, energy, and graciousness has enriched those fortunate enough to have known and worked with him. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Trenton hereby expresses its deep appreciation to Mr. Valentin for his services to the city, is honored to have had his service, and wishes his family condolences. That will be voted on Thursday, so that has been approved for walk-on. Next, Council President, we have a request to walk on this is from the administration through Mr. Lavenberg. Would like a council person to walk this on. This is Resolution 21-158. It's a resolution awarding a contract through a fair and open process in accordance with in accordance with NJSA 19:44 Cap A -20.4 et sec to vote to Van Note Harvey Associates PC for the development, preparation, printing, and mailing services for Consumer Confidence Report CCR Water Quality Report for a period of 1 year from April 30th, 2021 to April 29th, 2022, in an amount not to exceed $50,000 through RFP 2021-09. And I'm sure Council has questions about that. Would you like to entertain questions now? Would you like to ask for a motion, Council President?
Ask for the motion first.
Madam President, I have questions about this.
Well, we're going to get to the questions. Let's do the motion first.
Sure. Does a council member wish to sponsor this as a walk-on resolution?
So moved.
Mr. Harrison moves it. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by I believe that was Ms. Caldwell-Wilson. I think she beat everybody to the buzzer. I'll call the roll. This is to walk it on. This is for Resolution 21-158. I'll read that into the record as well. Mr. Blakely.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
No, because there's something is wrong with this resolution.
Ms. Vaughn.
No.
Council President McBride.
And yes. It's open for
Council President is open.
Councilman Rodriguez.
Ma'am,
Yes.
would you like me to read it into the record first before the questions?
Well, I believe that a correction is to be made before you put that in the record. I've been trying to stop it, but if you want to keep on going.
It's up to you. It's up to the Council President. Do you want me to read it into the record?
It's better if I bring that correction first.
Sure. Either way, I'm going to have to read the original into the record, but Council President.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Rodriguez, go ahead, sir.
Go right ahead and...
I'll read it into the record. Okay, yes, ma'am. This is Resolution 21-158. It is being walked on Thursday. This is a resolution awarding a contract through a fair and open process in accordance with NJSA 19:44 Cap A 20.4 et sec to Van Note Harvey Associates PC for the development, preparation, printing, and mailing services for Consumer Confidence Report CCR Water Quality Report for a period of 1 year from April 30, 2021 to April 29, 2022 in an amount not to exceed $50,000 through RFP 2021-09. Whereas the city has a need for development, preparation, printing, and mailing services for a period of 1 year for the City of Trenton Water Department and Sewer, whereas the request for proposals was advertised and 3 proposals were received on March 2nd, 2021, and were evaluated by the committee based on criteria that include experience, understanding, requirements, and cost. And whereas the proposal of Van Note Harvey Associates, Inc., 777 Alexander Road, P.O. Box 3227, Princeton, New Jersey, 08540, was deemed to have the necessary qualifications and expertise for the performance of the services at the rates budgeted. And whereas funds in the amount not to exceed $50,000 have been certified and available in the following account numbers: 1-05- 2020-5500-824-008. The city shall award this contract for a period of 1 year from April 30, 2021 to April 29, 2022. Now, therefore, it is resolved by the City Council of the City of Trenton as follows. The mayor is hereby authorized to enter into a contract with Van Note Harvey Associates, Inc., 777 Alexander Road, P.O. Box 227, Princeton, New Jersey, 08540 for the development, preparation, and printing and mailing services in an amount not to exceed $50,000 for a period of 1 year for the City of Trenton Department of Water and Sewer. Contract is awarded pursuant to the authority set forth in the local public contracts law and NJSA 40 Cap A 11-5. And a notice of this action shall be printed once in the official newspaper for the City of Trenton, and resolution and contract shall remain on file in the City Clerk's office.
Madam President, can I say something?
Go right ahead, Councilman
Okay.
Rodriguez.
I have a problem here because this contract says $50,000, but on page 7 and page 8, if I'm not blind or if I'm not going crazy yet, I saw an amount of the lowest bidder was Van Note Harvey for $36,288. $36,288. Why is the maximum $50,000 now? Where is that coming from? Which is which?
And Council, Mr. Rodriguez is referring to the backup that I emailed you earlier today.
Page 7 and 8.
So Mr. Lappingberg need to explain that.
Right, and the short answer to that is this is an RFP. This was done through a select committee that grades these RFPs, and this was the most responsible and qualified bidder for the job. I would have to interview the individuals that did the recommendation for this, but that was their recommendation.
Excuse me, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the difference between $50,000 and I saw that page that had that group, that evaluation that was done with the numbers, and it says that the lower bidder was this company, and the bid was $36,288. If you go back in your resolution, in the documents, page 7 and page 8 of the background information that you sent us says $36,288. Is it a mistake, or somebody wrote the wrong amount in the resolution? Which is which? Is it 50,000 or is it 36,288? That's my question.
Councilman, I am looking at the number of 36,288, and I do not have an explanation for that. So I say we pull it here, and we'll make the correction, and we'll see in 2 weeks on it.
And in the future, please, don't send us that kind of stuff.
Understood.
And Mr. Bridges, you have to be careful about this. You know, this is not right. What is going on?
And I don't believe I had that backup, so I'd be interested in seeing it as well.
Yes, because, you know, I wonder how many times we have done this. Am I the only one that reads? Am I the only one that reads the stuff?
That's why it's not good to walk on resolutions, because you don't have the time when information is fed to you the day before the actual meeting. Mr. Collin, this is one of the reasons why you do not have walk-ons, because of things like this. This is why we stopped it before, because there was too many errors coming down and too many errors being walked on this docket. Mr. Lappenberg, we will be pulling this. Mr. Collin, make note of that, and we may move on to the next order of business.
The last resolution to be considered for walk-on is walk-on proposed by Ms. Vaughn. This is Resolution 21-159. It is amended resolution to create a revolving loan program for Trenton businesses.
So move.
I have a motion by Ms. Vaughn. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Rodriguez.
Council President, can I speak on it?
Yes, you can. Mr.
Sorry,
You
Mr.
have to get
Collins.
a second. You have to
Okay.
get a second.
She does have a second. Did you want me, do you want to yield the floor to her, ma'am?
You wanna read it into the record, or you want to speak first?
She wants to actually, you're about to vote on whether to walk it on. So she wants to actually speak on to whether, her case to walk it on. And so.
Go right ahead, Councilwoman
Yeah,
Vaughn.
so I just want to quickly appeal to my fellow council members to consider this change, this amendment to a prior resolution that we all pretty much, I believe it was received supermajority vote. It was the resolution to create a revolving loan program for businesses in the city of Trenton. And there's only one provision or clause or paragraph that I would like to have amended, and that is the...
All right, very good.
There's
Ms.
too much
Foster,
talking
please
going
mute
on.
yourself, sir. Please continue, madam.
And that is the very last clause, provision, be it further resolved, that the reason why that I'm proposing and strongly recommended that we amend that because of the issue that we all experienced in the city of Trenton last week when Mayor Gusiora announced the possible granting of funds to a private entity, and that we discovered that the proposal never came to council for approval. And it was confirmed or verified that the reason the mayor and the administration, mainly the director of economic development, Ben Delisle, did not come to council to get approval for that particular transaction and that allotment of grant funding was because of this particular resolution and because of that particular clause. And that clause that I want to amend properly does state, as the mayor indicated in the media, that the council had granted the Department of Housing and Economic Development Director Ben Delisle unilateral powers to design, manage the loan program, adjudicate the eligibility of the loan applicants, and facilitate the disbursement of loans. The director or the designee was empowered to design the program in the terms of any loan, including its amount, use of funds, the interest rates, the loan's principal and forgiveness and eligibility, and that pretty much that the department shall be considered the Zone Development Corporation pursuant to NJSA 5227H66. And I will ask the law department to expound on that law and what it means to give for the council to delegate its zone development authority to any entity. And that's what I just wanted to change. I want to amend that by striking that, and for that provision to just say, simply state that the Director of Housing and Economic Development and his or her designee shall come to the council for approval prior to any agreement to disseminate funds. And
Madam
that's...
President?
Yes, excuse me, she was asking for the law director to speak to that, and then after he speaks, then Councilman, you have the floor.
No, and thank you, Council President. Thank you for your question, Councilwoman Vaughn. As you know, we did have extensive conversation today as well as communication. The amendment is proper. I do see an issue from a legal standpoint of giving that type of unilateral authority to one council to do that, I will say. but I think that the amendment's proper. I think it's consistent with the definition of the corporation under the statute, and with respect to council's decision whether or not to adopt the amendment, it is legal and it is consistent with the statute. It's quite simply put.
Councilman Rodriguez.
Well, I voted yes for that. I made a huge mistake. I didn't read the whole thing. And I found out through the internet those comments. I said, wow. And the person that was commenting was so proud that we defeated council. We tricked him into voting into this resolution. Now we have all the power to do whatever we can. I believe that we should approve this amendment because it is wrong. And I admit I made a mistake by voting yes on it.
Council President, may I also dovetail on Councilman Rodriguez's comments?
Yes.
And for the benefit of the council, I did have a conversation. I shared this with Councilwoman Vaughn as well. I did have a conversation with the administration, and quite frankly, the administration understands this and takes no issue with this amendment at all.
Thank you. This will be walked on Thursday. We have to vote now.
Well, you can put it on at your discretion, ma'am, or you can call for a vote in any event.
Yeah,
You can have remember this way, you have the right to suspend, you can suspend the rule, and if council objects to it, they can raise a motion to overturn your ruling. So you said walk it on, and it will be walked on for Thursday. Ms. Vaughn, is that good with you?
That's great, because Council President and Council Vice President, I would like the council to have an opportunity to deliberate on it and to review it. And Mr. Bridges did provide the statute as to what the authority of the Zone Development Corporation is. And I believe as the redevelopment authority of the City of Trenton, which is the City Council, also it provides the Zone Development, is the Zone Development Corporation as well. And I don't think that our intent was to delegate that authority, as Councilman Rodriguez stated. So I would like this to be voted on Thursday so that all the council members can get an opportunity to review that statute and understand, what the intent is or was.
And I'll read this in the record. Mr. Bridges, I just need your signature in the morning for form and legality. This is Resolution 21-159, amended resolution to create a revolving loan program for Trenton businesses. Whereas the present state of economy and business environment has made apparent the need for an accessible services and other constraints in addition to the continued encouragement of social distancing and the avoidance of public places. And whereas Governor Phil Murphy ordered a state of emergency for New Jersey on March 9, 2020, and whereas the Mayor Reed W. Gussiora ordered a state of emergency for the City of Trenton on March 14, 2020, and whereas the other government agencies such as the Federal Small Business Administration are offering resources for those businesses affected by the mitigation measures, and whereas the businesses within the City of Trenton are suffering substantial and unprecedented economic injuries due to those measures, and whereas it is in the interest of the city business owners and residents of the City of Trenton to retain jobs and aid business owners in remaining viable, and whereas the present circumstances have highlighted the exigency for an established revolving loan program that can be readily dispersed to Trenton businesses, and whereas the City of Trenton has been designated an urban enterprise zone by the state of New Jersey under the terms of Public Law 1983, Chapter 303, that's Chapter 52:27H-66 of the New Jersey Statutes Annotated, and whereas the City of Trenton currently has access to funds from the Urban Enterprise Zone Fund, which have been designated to be dispersed as loans, and the city will not be required to use any of its own capital funds for this program, and whereas the City of Trenton has available $2 million in UEZ funds for loans related to economic development as indicated on the attached certification of funds. And whereas Chapter 52:27H-88 allows for the governing body of a qualifying municipality in which an enterprise zone is designated to, by resolution, jointly adopted after public hearing, proposed to undertake an economic development project in the enterprise zone and to fund that project from monies deposited in the Enterprise Zone Assistance Fund, and whereas Chapter 52:27H-88 for revolving loan programs for qualified businesses in the zone to encourage private investment and job creation that will lead to increased economic activity or encourage private investment and job creation in the zone. Now therefore it be resolved by the City Council of the City of Trenton, County of Mercer, State of New Jersey, that the city shall create a revolving loan program for eligible Trenton businesses. City Council further authorizes the use of $2 million from the Urban Enterprise Zone Fund, currently maintained by the city, to create a revolving loan program. Be it further resolved that there's a bunch of stricken language out here just for the purposes of drafting. This paragraph should actually be amended to say, be it further resolved, this amends the prior resolution, but I'm not so sure, because I'll talk to Mr. Bridges about it tomorrow. But basically, it strikes all this, the language that I'm going to read into the record out of the prior resolution and replaces that last prior paragraph. We'll work on the construction. I'll have a copy out to the public tomorrow as well. So it says, be further resolved that, and it strikes the language, the Department of Housing and Economic Development shall be considered the Zone Development Corporation pursuant to Chapter 52:27H-66. The Director of the Department of Housing and Economic Development or designee shall manage the loan program, adjudicate the eligibility of loan applicants, and facilitate the disbursement of these loans. The Director or designee is empowered to design the program and the terms of any loan, including its amount, use of funds, interest rate, loan principal, forgiveness, and eligibility. That is the language that is being stricken out. And the inserted language to amend the resolution is the Director of Housing and Economic Development and or his or her designee shall come to council for approval prior to any agreement to disseminate funds. I have a motion to walk. Actually, the motion was already answered. The Council President did it at her discretion. That is the last of the walk-ons for the docket, Madam. And like I said, there's just some language in there that will probably be cleaned up. We'll get another copy posted. There is one ordinance. This is, my apologies. We are just noted earlier, we are adding an executive session to Thursday's meeting for those docket items as noted earlier in this meeting from the communications and petitions on those legal matters. So just to note that for the record for the public, that'll be resolution. It should be 21-159, and that will be a resolution to go into executive session. I'll read that into the record on Thursday. There is one ordinance for consideration. It is ordinance. My apology, I lost my page 8. There it is. An ordinance granting renewal, this is our ordinance 21-010, an ordinance granting renewal of municipal consent to Comcast and Mercer County LLC to construct, connect, operate, and maintain a cable television and communication system in the municipality of Trenton, Mercer County, New Jersey. This is for the franchise agreement for Comcast Cable. And even though this does have to be roll called by law, Madam President, do you want to open the floor to the council for any questions that they may have for the law department?
This Council President, if I may jump in, I'd like to have this pulled. The reason for this pull, I'm fine with the terms of it. However, the BPU, the Board of Public Utilities, requires a review of these before it's being introduced. While I'm fine to it as in its current form, I do not know whether or not BPU has reviewed this. So for that reason, I would like for it to be pulled.
Mr. Collins?
Noted.
So noted. Mm-hmm. All right, so we would move. We would now move.
My apologies, ma'am. Yeah, the public portion for docket items only, ma'am. Would you like to open up public portion for docket items?
Yes, go right ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, this will be the public portion for docket items only. You have 10 minutes to speak. Please limit your comments to docket items only. On Thursday, you will have an opportunity to speak on any topic you would like. And if you would like to be recognized by council, if you are on a computer device, raise your hand or speak out. If you're on telephone, please unmute yourself by dialing *6 and speak out. I would also just like to take one quick opportunity, Council President, to make a public service announcement at the request of the Ethics Board.
Go right ahead.
The Ethics Board is seeking membership from members in the Trenton community. An advertisement was posted in the public paper. If you would like to see a copy of that advertisement or would like the advertisement sent to you, please email clerk@trentonnj.org. If you would like to be considered for the Ethics Board, please submit your resume, a letter of interest, and an interest application, which you can find on the website, to the clerk's office. Thank you very much, Council President. If you would like to be recognized for a public portion, please speak up now.
Yes.
Your name, ma'am?
Faith Ann Pearson.
Thank you, ma'am. Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Ms. Peterson.
This is in reference to 21-135, the extension of Mr. Zielinski as the acting financial director. I am just curious, are you reading over with a fine-tooth comb all the bids and financial documents, or are you just rubber stamping them from past records? From what I'm hearing, there's an awful lot of discrepancies.
Ma'am, this is not a portion where you actually get to ask Mr. Zielinski questions. You can make comments on Resolution 21-135, though.
Well, this is to have him extended. That's why I'm asking.
Yes, ma'am. It is to have Mr. Zielinski extended.
And I'm just curious, if he's just rubber stamping him, then that would be a good reason for having him being extended. Or if he's really going over it, I'm glad to have him extended. I guess you don't understand what I'm saying because I'm intelligent.
We understand,
Sorry.
but this is not a question and answer. We understand exactly what you're saying, but this is not a question and answer, period. This is public comment. You can make your comment.
Anybody else wish? Ms. Pearson,
comment?
are you done?
I'd
Okay.
like to make a comment.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
Your name, please.
My name is Marlene Dublinski, 215 East Front Street. I had spoken with Ms. Cola Wilson about an issue. It's not something mentioned tonight, but I understand they're going to be fencing around the old garage.
And unfortunately, ma'am, this is a workshop meeting. Please join us on Thursday, and you can raise any topic you want. This is only for the agenda items for tonight. My apologies.
Okay, I respect that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if you do have a problem, though, please email me at clerk@trentonnj.org, and I'll forward it to the right department. Anybody else wish to be recognized by public? Council President, we have someone who is identifying them as Trenton business guest.
Yes, they can announce your names.
Please identify
Your name.
Sure. Hi, Ms. McBride. My name is Ms. Chowdhury. I put Trenton Business because I operate a business in Trenton. I think it's going to take a lot of effort to really fundamentally change the economic attitudes that are underneath the kind of resolutions that were discussed today. To me, it always kind of strikes me. The first thing that strikes me is the priorities that are indicated by these resolutions, and I wanted to know how much in the past 4 or 5 years has gone to youth programs versus when was the last time the police vehicles were re-outfitted or purchased. The idea of spending $1 million on police vehicles and spending $7,000 on a youth program is striking. The other thing I wanted to ask is that, for-profit businesses operate differently than, I guess, some other operations, I'll call them. I know that when I do a contract with a contractor, if the contract is not done in a certain period of time, I will actually institute penalties in the contract. There has to be some incentive for these contractors, or whoever you contract out to, which is, I have concerns and a lot of concerns about. But whoever it is that you contract out to, when they're missing deadlines, it seems that you're actually rewarding them, which is, I think, setting kind of a precedent. And I think this precedent has led to these kind of contracts. I appreciate those who are rigorous about it, because I think that not only do you need to be rigorous, but I think you need a real change in attitude about how these contracts are made. When my contractor goes a month outside of the contract, she or he pays. You pay me penalties because I expected to start in September and you didn't finish till, late September or October, or maybe miss a deadline. So my question is, what incentives are built into any of these contracts that were discussed today or discussed at all? Why, instead of penalties being issued for missing deadlines and extending dates, are people essentially being rewarded? And my other question is about oversight. It seems that, this theme emerges again and again of, no one really understanding the details, or not really understanding, but being, these contractors aren't necessarily transparent about their details. I hear a lot of rhetoric around, well, that's how it operates. That's how it's been done. This is legal. What's legal is not necessarily what's logical, nor is it what's right. And I just feel like this has just been a constant theme. A lot of money seems to be going out of Trenton, a lot. And it seems to me like it's putting a real, it's really just in vernacular, like milking the residents for taxes that never seem to come back in any tangible manner, except to kind of band-aid some issues. To give you an example, I can't get, $300 of cans placed on my street to deal with the litter, but somehow we're able to spend hundreds of thousands on things that are not necessarily frivolous, but don't seem near as necessary as like a garbage can on Chambers, a garbage can on Olden. These are major intersections. So I feel like the council deserves more transparency from every single one of these contractors, and so does the public, frankly. And I'm also curious, how much was paid in printing costs in the last 5 years? And if somebody could, you're spending another $50,000 or proposing spending $50,000 on a printing cost, perhaps, if you're printing that much, that often, should someone consider calling someone else to bid this contract, or perhaps developing your own printing capabilities? I feel like this is going to keep happening, and these discussions are going to keep happening. And the numbers to me are just mind-boggling. It's just thousands here, thousands there, and I appreciate those who are catching increases in contracts, which are, I don't understand why anyone would try to slip them through without calling attention to them. So I would like more transparency around all aspects of these contracting, like why. Anyway, that's it. That's my point. It just seems like so much money and the same potholes, the same branches. The sidewalk in front of my place has been cracked for a long time, and I was told by Trenton Municipality that I have to repair it myself. And on that note, those are my questions.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Next we have Lydia Thornton, Council President.
Go right ahead, Ms. Thornton.
Hi, good evening all, and thank you for allowing me to speak. Lydia Thornton,
Ms. Thornton, could you speak up?
Yeah, Ms. Thornton, you have an incredible amount of feedback. You definitely have a loose wire or something going on. We're just getting buzzing from you.
Okay, never mind. I'll speak on Thursday. Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak for the public portion? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the public portion on docket items only. Anybody else wish to speak? Council President, do I have a motion to close public portion?
Yes.
I have a motion to close public portion by Council President McBride. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Council Vice President Colwell-Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night. Good night.
Thank you. Councilwoman Colwell-Wilson.
Yes, I do. I would like to ask Director Coley a question.
Could you speak up, Councilwoman?
I'd like to ask Director Coley a question.
Go right ahead. Director.
Yes.
Director Coley, I'm very concerned about the Veterans Memorial on Broad Street, on South Broad Street. We have there's a lot of drug transactions going on there. We have a lot of homeless people hanging out there. It's so disrespectful at that memorial, and I've been complaining about it for several years. And the response I get from the police is, well, we moved them and then they moved back. And I think I would like more attention paid to that, if you could, to clear that and show some respect for that Veterans Memorial. And Mr. Cruz, I would like to ask you a question on that. Mr. Cruz?
Yes, Madam Vice President.
Mr. Cruz, is there any way we can look at that Veterans Memorial and find some way of getting a wrought iron fence or something around it to protect it? It's an eyesore down there, people coming into the city, and we have all these people hanging out with chairs, eating, doing drugs, drinking. It's right across from Dunkin' Donuts. And it's a terrible, terrible eyesore.
Yes, Councilwoman, we can take a look at that and see what we are allowed to do.
Okay. Also, stay on, Mr. Cruz. Did we get the contract for the HVAC system at the Playhouse yet?
Councilwoman, I would have to ask the department to see what is the update on that.
Could you please let me know, because
Yes.
I think we need to move on that as soon as possible.
Yes, will do.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cruz. And I just
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
I'm sorry?
Thank you.
Go right ahead, Marge. That was someone.
Oh, I just want to thank everybody for participating in the meeting tonight.
I just wanted to thank Ms. Wilson.
Please do not interrupt the council again. We appreciate you thanking them, but this is their time to speak. Thank you. My apologies, ma'am.
That's all right. I just want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you. I'm done.
Councilman Harrison?
I wanted to let everybody know this weekend, Melrose Avenue, we're doing a cleanup and cookout, and we're cleaning up the alleyways all around Melrose Avenue. So if you live around that area, you would greatly appreciate it if you come out and help clean up the alleyways and the street. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilman Lushel?
No comment. Thank you. Good night.
Councilman Rodriguez? Councilman? See him. Is he still on?
I was muted. Okay. I had muted myself.
Okay. Go right ahead, Councilman Rodriguez.
Okay. I have to ask the health director and Mr. Delisle, what is the plan for permanent placement of this family that is now in the hotel in Ewing, the family from 234 Senate Street. Is 10 people now, but the other two adults, they are on their own. They are not part of that family. But the city condemned that property almost 15 days ago, 2 weeks ago, but by what I have been told, they have to leave the hotel the 1st of May. And where are we placing that family? What are we going to do? Are we going to do as usual? You are on your own, find yourself a house or find yourself an apartment. We give you the first month rent. You know, that case, that wasn't that family's fault. I checked the rent receipts. I checked the lease. A copy of they sent me, because I never went to the house to interfere with inspectors. But I got all the information. The rent was up to date. There were violations there, but Mr. Delisle told me that the city inspectors knew about 234 Senate Street before I was the one that brought the issue. Somebody called me about no gas in that place. Was my fault by talking to Mr. Delisle. We sent the inspectors and they condemned the building, which I agree with the condemnation. But what is the city's plan when those cases happen, when they condemn a building? You know, last year, Council President knows about this young lady with her son. The place was condemned. She got placed for 2 days, and I believe she's still homeless somewhere, either in New Jersey or Pennsylvania. Nobody cared about her, but she was a troublemaker, supposedly, but that wasn't her fault. The city condemned the place. We need to have a plan of when we're going to condemn the place. What are we going to do with those people? Send them to the Sleepy Hollow Motel in Route 1? Something has to be done about that. And I like to get answers before Friday on what's going to happen with that little family. Are we going to find them a home, or what are we going to do? Are we going to discriminate them because they are undocumented? Because they are, they don't have papers from this nation. They are residents, hardworking people, the same as everybody else. What's going to happen with them coming Saturday? Saturday, they're going to be thrown out of that hotel. What's going to happen, Dr. Lopez and Mr. Delisle? What's going to happen with them? Also, we were talking about 127 Academy and 416 Bellevue. At that time, they say they found this homeless. It was a homeless shelter. CES program, CEAS, they call it. I believe their location 549 Perry Street. That was there probably about 12 years ago as a shelter for homeless families in Trenton. It had, I believe, 4 or 5 small apartments there. It was a small place. But what happened during this COVID thing was that I guess they couldn't continue working on one in academy, and they took over the family's homeless shelter on Perry Street and gave it to the rescue mission for their single people that were positive. They were the ones that I remember. It came out in the papers all over that somebody went and stole some TVs out of that shelter. Yes, but it was given to homeless people that might not be residents of the city. So it was switched from families to single people, and now I don't know if they're going to convert it back to apartments for our homeless people, because we have homeless people right now in a UN hotel that need placement. What are we going to do about it? There was something that I saw the other day in the internet, the newspapers, says New York completes 100% of their lead service line program. And New York started probably a month before Trenton, around the same time. And I bet you, by the numbers I've been getting every 2 weeks, we are probably at 10, 15% of ours, I guess. It's the same program. They're doing the same thing in New York that we are supposed to be doing in Trenton. How comes New York, 100%? Trenton, I don't even know the percent, because they give us to the reports that we get, they add even the emergency jobs are part of the whole total. The last one I saw, I think, was about 3,800. Newark completed 18,000. 18,000. They're all done. Trenton had, they were talking about 60,000. I don't know what the number that Mr. Lavenberg had, because I had asked over and over, and they say they still have problems with the landlords. They have problems with the people not being home, so they don't have an accurate number of how many lead lines are supposed to be replaced. Hey, check New York. Mr. Lavenberg, contact New York. That was a miracle, right? Follow Newark.
Councilman, I'm on with Kareem right now from Newark.
Also, I was attended the school board meeting last night, and we have issues. We have issues with the school district, the teachers. We have issues there. The mayor, somebody have to say something. The mayor said, I saw it in the paper today, I guess, that he wants the schools to open. I know for a fact, because I visited Moses School I stopped last March because they closed them. There's violations in those buildings. There's a lot of people that are worried about sending their kids back to school. There's also teachers that are worried because now they are talking about a hybrid program where the teachers have to teach in the classroom and at the same time teach those kids through the internet. At the same time, I don't know how they are going to do it, but that's the plan for Trenton. That's the way it's supposed to be. But my question is, what in school? The school year is over in June, and they're going to open the 3rd of May. So they're going to open for about 6 weeks. You know, why not waiting until September? Probably things are better. This emergency is still going on. You know, we have to check. I believe that our mayor to check with the district and see that something is done about this in a fair way, not just imposing into one side, imposing things, what is going to happen? We might get a teacher strike, and that's going to be worse than the pandemic, worse than everything. They are talking about the kids being behind. Yes, I know they are behind. Some of them are doing better now through the internet than before, but yes, some of them, they don't attend. They don't get into the internet. They go outside and play because they are free. They don't have much supervision because the parents have to work or they have no alternatives to stay home with them, So, but I believe the city has to look into that because that could turn into an ugly issue. Okay. Thank you very much for listening and good night.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yes, I just want to quickly follow up with the comment that Councilman Rodriguez talked about, and that is the Newark plan and execution of their lead service line replacement project. Yes, that's being reported, and Mr. Lavenberg says he's online with his counterpart Kareem over in Newark. But the bottom line is, the way I see it, is that, and what I've come to an understanding, even with a meeting that I had the privilege of being a part of with the Lieutenant Governor, is that Newark has taken a strategy of ramping up resources in their city to facilitate the successful completion or the rapid completion of their lead service line replacement. So, as Councilman Rodriguez stated, they replaced nearly 18,000 lead lines throughout their city, which is 3 times larger than Trenton population, throughout 18,000 throughout the city. And the project plan put forward for 18,000 lead lines replacement in the city of Newark was projected out to 10 years. But they're reporting to the DEP that they're going to finish theirs within 2 years. So they have totally cut down their timeline to delivery significantly. And as Lieutenant Governor Oliver reported, one of the resource tools that Mayor Raz Baraka used that the Mayor Gussiora and our Director Lavenberg just been resistant about is to hire folks who are unemployed in your city, mainly men and women who are returning citizens. Folks who have come from, incarceration. Those are real jobs for those individuals that you can employ very quickly to help out to deliver these projects in Public Works and Trenton Waterworks. And we don't see that type of deployment in the city. So we can, with ease, have all those 4 contractors that we have contracted, Spinellio, South State, Petrangolo, all of those contractors have multi-million-dollar contracts, multi-million, right? 3, 6, 8, 8, 9, 8-figure contracts can employ these resources just to ramp up, to deliver, and accelerate the timeline and deliver and complete the project. So I don't understand the hesitancy of the mayor or the director to do that. And it's a win-win for everybody. You employ a large number of people in Trenton that needs employment. You recirculate that money back into our economy. And you're going to perhaps impact the recidivism rate, right? So when women and men come out from a period of incarceration, if we can employ them very quickly, the mayor can do it. The mayor he has the power to do it, and he refuses to exercise it. It's a win-win. These men and women will not have to stand on the corner for 6 months being out of from incarceration, no job, no opportunity, just despair. We can change that. They don't have to resort back to crime and gun violence, and you will see the difference. And that's what Hvac has done. And the job will get done. And the value is there. Just do it, for goodness sake. There's no reason not to. There's no reason not to. You'll see the impact throughout, you'll see it in the economy. You'll see it in a lower crime rate. You'll see it in folks being able to invest in recirculate funding in the economy. So I don't understand why that's not done. And that's the difference between what Hvac is doing and what the mayor and the Trenton is not doing. And I'm glad to hear that Mark is, collaborating with his colleague in Newark to figure out and to leverage some of their strategies. Because I would be doing the same thing if I was Mark. How could I do things better? How can I copy what you're doing if it means that it's successful? I mean, it doesn't take an engineer from MIT to help dig holes and replace these lead lines, right? So, and we have multi-million dollars allocate toward it, and we can afford to do it. Okay, so let's do it. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the American Rescue Plan Act funding. It's calls for a lot of conversation in the city and beyond. Folks are excited about it. Folks are thinking about the impact it's going to have on the capital city in Trenton, and so am I. The opportunities are endless if we just make sure that we act accordingly and maximize the opportunity. And one of the things that we talked about when Mayor Guscior was with us last council session is that how are we going to facilitate compiling, aggregating, community engagement, getting community involved and at the table to help us come up with the plan of what and how we're going to use the funding. And I just want to perhaps propose to my fellow council members that we put forward a resolution that maybe next council session have the clerk and/or the law director, West Bridges, write it up to a resolution that requests that the mayor commission a survey of the community, 84,000 in population, plus or minus, commission a survey and collect that input so that we can use that as a source of data as we have these community meetings and forums to get an understanding from a broad sample of the population of Trenton what their desires are and how they want to see the money spent. And I would want to see that resolution put forward sooner rather than later to request that the mayor again commission a survey across the city of Trenton to gather data on how Trentonians perceive both businesses, because business owners are non-Trentonians in a lot of cases, but our businesses and our business owners and our residents, how they perceive the money should be spent. And the other thing is, I just want to make sure that we get a lot of comments and questions. I get a lot of issues in the West Ward about people dumping in our alleyways, doing illegal, activity. We get a lot of issues, around drug activity and people doing illicit activity across our neighborhoods in Hiltonia, Glen Afton, the Island, my neighborhood in Hillcrest, over there in Oakland. We got a lot of activity in Oakland and Hoffman. I think we had a couple of shootings over there already this year. So we're really dependent on this real-time crime center, Police Director Coley, and any other tools that the police department and our law enforcement partners across the state and county are deploying. We're really looking for them to really step it up this summer to take proactive and preventative measures to ensure that we don't see a repeat of last summer. So deploy all the resources that we need to make sure those numbers stay very low. And that's all I have, Council President. So I yield my time. Thank you all for joining, and I'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you, Councilwoman Vaughn. And to the public and to all of the directors, we thank you. Your opinion matters, and we thank you for coming on this conference. I would like to just point out a couple things. The first thing is I would like to say to Dr. Lopez, if she could please tell me where and when they are going to place the family from Center Street. We need to know that, as the councilman stated, as soon as possible. I wanted to talk about the funding that's coming into the state of New Jersey, into the city. The American Rescue Act plan, we're getting $73 million and some change, but the state is also getting $2 billion from the American Rescue Act to help the New Jersey transit system across the state to get new buses, new shuttles for seniors and disabled people under certain grants. And so I want to make sure that the city of Trenton gets some of that $2 billion because the money has already been allocated. It's allocated under the Rescue Act, and the state of New Jersey is scheduled to get it. It was announced in March. So talking about the transit. So for the first time in quite a while, I had not been down to our transit center. So I go down there I think it was last Thursday. It was either Thursday or Friday, one of those days. And when I get down there, there's no elevator. There's no escalators. All of the benches have been shut down and locked down. There's no service for any persons getting off of the train to catch a cab. The transit police, they're all in their cars or they're in their booths. And I'm saying to myself, my mother was an avid train person. She only traveled through the train. And if she needed to travel, she would not be able to use our transit center. There would be no way for her to get her luggage from the first floor down to the platform. There's no escalators, there's no elevator. All of the benches is shut down. Now, mind you, everyone across the world has been faced with COVID, but I've been in other stations throughout, and you would not see an entire system shut down. And so now, while we shut Trenton Transit Center down, then all of our customers are moving to Hamilton because their station is not shut down. And so I'm just saying to Wally and to Santorum and to Hobart, you guys need to get out to that transit center and you need to make some serious changes, because I cannot believe that we don't even have an elevator for a senior. A senior was standing outside trying to get a cab to pick him up, and they told him, oh no, you have to use Uber. He said, what is Uber? And I'm like, oh my goodness, he can't even get a ride home from the station? No taxi service, nothing. I don't know what you guys do with 5 square miles here. This is unheard of. And I suggested all of you just go down to the Trenton Transit Center. It's deplorable. It makes no sense, but we're about to have access to part of $2 billion. And I hope that this administration get part of that money and make a change down at our transit center. Because I've never seen anything like it before. I want to talk about the dumping. Yesterday, we had a little incident over here where I live at where the people were dumping. And when the police were called, and the mayor knows this, and I'm quite sure the director knows it too, they were more interested in who phoned the call in, who called the complaint in, than they were the actual person doing the dumping. The officer must have asked me 3 times, who called this in? Who called this in? And I said, the mayor's aide called it in. Go see the mayor or see his aide, because this is ridiculous. They were caught red-handed dumping, and the police had to come back about 4 times before they even got it right. I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't understand what is going on in our city. I don't understand why a transit center is completely shut down. I don't understand why the police had to come out here 3 times when someone was caught red-handedly, illegally dumping. And last but not least, the unions are about to talk about their hazard pay. And my suggestion to everyone involved, they should not just be worried about hazard pay. They should be very concerned with their contract. I don't mind going and being part of the conversation, but there's too many moving parts that have not been addressed. And so while you're talking about hazard pay, you should be talking about increasing their pay based on their union contract. And so I'll be a part of the conversation, but just know that I don't think it should be limited to hazard pay. I think it should be a complete conversation about a contract. And when we're talking about the $73 million, if you go to our sanitation department and look at our vehicles over there in the sanitation department, every other department, the water department, has a complete new line of vehicles. The police are getting new vehicles, but the sanitation workers are working with trucks darn near 20 years old. The trucks that they use for the parks are antiquated. It makes no sense that our director of public works do not aggressively move to get those workers in trucks that are COVID fitted. Those vehicles should be COVID ready for 2 people to ride, because in the summertime, it is too hot to ride on the back of the truck for the whole 8 hours. And in the wintertime, it is too cold. 2 people should be able to ride in those trucks. Those trucks should be a new model, and they should be COVID ready trucks. If you go over to our sanitation department on Calhoun Street and look at those outdated, antiquated trucks, it is deplorable. And all of the CARES money is going out of the city to the nonprofits. And our workers are working in outdated trucks and no updated version whatsoever. And I'm saying to the administration, do a better job. Get some new vehicles over there to the public works. And Wally, you need to step up. You need to be a little bit more aggressive, Director Onitary. You need to be a little bit more aggressive for your employees, because this is sad.
True that.
It's sad. And with that, I want to just thank the recreation director and all of the community over in the West Ward that came together to start this garden and to help beautify Laurel Avenue Park and the Laurel Avenue community. I think that is way overdue. One of our neighbors had founded the garden, and he passed away, and it took us 3 years to get the garden back up and running. And I thank the recreation department for coming over and clearing out the trees, because we had 3 fallen trees over there and a lot of debris. And I thank the recreation department for helping us by clearing out those dead trees. It is city property, but thank you again. And I thank each and every one of you for coming this evening. Mr. Conlon, we may close out. I put a motion up to adjourn this meeting until Thursday.
Yes, ma'am. I have a motion to adjourn by Council President McBride. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Vaughn. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
One more.
Aye.
We are adjourned. All in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you.
None opposed. We are adjourned at 10:03 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, next council meeting will be on Thursday at 5:30. Thank you very much for your attendance tonight. If you're not already home, get home safe. Thank you.